Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you found your way here today. Tonight we are going to spend some time with a part of you that never stops working, one that has been quietly present since before you had a name for it. The subconscious mind rarely announces itself. It does not raise its hand or ask for credit. Instead, it moves beneath the surface of your thoughts, handling countless small tasks so that your conscious mind is free to notice a sunset, follow a conversation, or simply drift. Over the next while, we will explore 100 gentle facts about this hidden part of you, moving slowly from wonder to scale to warmth, until your body feels ready for rest. And before we begin, if you enjoy what I share here, please leave a like and hit subscribe. It's how others find their way to this little corner too. Now let's begin. Underneath every decision you believe you are making sits a much older, much busier system. The subconscious mind is the part of the brain that manages the body's ongoing operations without needing your attention or your consent. It adjusts your blood pressure while you read a book. It regulates your hormones while you argue about dinner plans. It coordinates the countless small muscle movements that keep you balanced while you reach for a cup. None of this requires a single conscious thought from you, and that is precisely the point. The conscious mind, the part that feels like you when you are deciding what to say next, is only ever handling a small slice of what your body actually does in a given moment. The rest belongs to a quieter system, one built through evolution to keep you alive first and aware second. Think of it as an old patient caretaker who moved in long before you arrived and has never once asked to be thanked. It checks the temperature of a room and nudges your skin to release heat. It notices a change in your breathing pattern and corrects it gently without a report or a summary. You simply wake up each morning, already breathing, already balanced, already regulated, as though none of it took any effort at all. In truth, an extraordinary amount of effort happened, and it happened entirely without your permission, because your subconscious mind never needed to ask. Somewhere beneath your ribs, a small cluster of specialized cells is quietly setting the pace for your entire circulatory system. This cluster, sometimes called the heart's natural pacemaker, sends out rhythmic electrical signals that tell your heart when to contract and when to rest. Your subconscious mind oversees this rhythm continuously, adjusting it moment to moment, depending on what your body needs. When you stand up quickly, your subconscious speeds the rhythm slightly to keep blood flowing to your brain. When you settle into a chair with a book, it slows the rhythm again, sensing that less urgency is required. You have never once had to remind your heart to beat before a meeting or during a walk, or while you laughed at something a friend said. It simply continued, uninterrupted, carrying blood to your fingertips and your thoughts alike. This rhythm follows you into sleep as well, softening further as your body powers down for the night, always calibrated by processes that never reach your conscious awareness. There is something quietly remarkable in this arrangement. The most essential task your body performs, the one that cannot pause even for a moment, has been placed entirely in the hands of a system that asks nothing of you in return. Right now, as you listen, that same rhythm continues beneath your voice, beneath your thoughts, keeping pace with a patience that has never once faltered since the earliest days of your life. Picture your eyes for a moment, resting gently as you listen. Somewhere in the background, without any instruction from you, they have already blinked several times since this sentence began. The subconscious mind initiates the vast majority of blinking throughout the day, using it to keep the surface of the eye moist and clear. A conscious blink, the kind you choose on purpose, feels different and rare by comparison. Most blinks arrive and depart before your awareness ever catches them, woven so seamlessly into your day that you rarely notice the brief moments of darkness they create. Your subconscious even adjusts the rate of blinking depending on what you are doing. It slows when you are deeply focused on a screen or a page, and it quickens slightly during conversation, almost as though it understands the difference between concentration and connection. None of this requires thought. None of it interrupts your reading, your listening, or your resting. It simply happens thousands of times across a single day, each blink a small act of quiet maintenance performed on your behalf. There is a gentle kind of trust in this. Your eyes are cared for by a system that never grows tired of the task, never forgets, and never waits to be asked. Even now, as your body begins to settle into stillness, that same quiet rhythm continues, blinking softly, keeping watch, asking for nothing in return. You may feel in this very moment that every word you understand and every reaction you have is something you are choosing freshly and deliberately. Much of it is not. Your subconscious mind shapes a surprising portion of what eventually rises into conscious thought, filtering, sorting, and preparing information long before you become aware of it. When a memory surfaces, or a preference appears, or a mood shifts, the groundwork for that experience was often laid beneath your awareness first. You did not consciously decide to feel more at ease in a quiet room than in a loud one. Your subconscious learned that association over time, and simply presents the feeling to you, fully formed. You did not consciously choose to recognize a friend's walk from a distance. Your subconscious matched the pattern instantly, and only afterward informed your conscious mind of the conclusion. This layering means that what you experience as a single, seamless thought is often the final step of a much longer, quieter process. There is comfort in this arrangement even if it is unfamiliar to consider. It means you are supported by something vast and steady, something that has been paying attention on your behalf the entire time. Beneath every thought you have tonight, that same quiet process continues, gathering, sorting, and gently preparing whatever comes next long before it ever reaches the surface of your mind. Reach for a glass of water, and something curious has already happened before you were aware of choosing to reach at all. Research into the timing of brain activity has found that certain preparatory signals in the brain begin to build in the moments before a person consciously feels the intention to move. In other words, the subconscious mind appears to set some actions into motion slightly ahead of conscious awareness, catching up to the decision. This does not mean you lack control over your actions. It means the process of deciding is layered with an early subconscious stage, quietly preparing the body, while a conscious stage follows shortly after, adding intention, meaning, and the sense of choice. Scientists still debate exactly how much this early signal shapes the final action, and the topic remains an active and thoughtful area of study rather than a settled conclusion. What feels certain is this: your body and mind are working together in ways more intricate than a simple command followed by an action. There are layers beneath the layers, quiet preparations happening before you ever feel the impulse to move. Tonight, as your hands rest still and your body grows heavier, that same subconscious system is not idle. It is simply shifting its attention elsewhere, easing tension from muscles you are no longer using, preparing your body gently for a different kind of stillness altogether. Long before you could speak, your body was already learning one of its most complicated skills. Walking requires a remarkable amount of coordination between balance, muscle timing, and constant tiny corrections, yet no one ever sat you down and explained the mechanics of it. Instead, your subconscious mind absorbed the pattern through repetition, through thousands of small attempts and adjustments, until the motion became so automatic that you no longer think about it at all. Even now, walking across a familiar room requires no conscious calculation from you. Your subconscious handles the shifting of weight from one foot to the other, the slight tilt of your hips, the constant micro-adjustments that keep you upright on uneven ground. This is why you can walk while thinking about something else entirely, carrying on a conversation, or replaying a memory without ever losing your balance. The skill was learned at once deeply and thoroughly, and then handed over entirely to a system that no longer needs your attention to perform it. There is something quietly moving in this. A skill this complex, mastered in early childhood, has been carried by your subconscious ever since, ready and waiting whenever you need it without a single reminder required. Tonight, your legs are still, but the same steady system that once taught them to walk continues its quiet work, easing them now toward rest instead of motion. There is a peculiar gap that happens sometimes when you see someone you know. A wave of recognition arrives first, warm and immediate, and only a moment later does their name follow. This gap is not a flaw. It is evidence of two separate systems working at different speeds. Your subconscious mind processes facial patterns with remarkable efficiency, comparing the shape of eyes, the curve of a smile, and the rhythm of someone's expressions against a vast internal library built from every face you have ever encountered. This recognition can happen almost instantly, well before the slower, more deliberate process of retrieving a name catches up. That is why you can feel certain you know someone across a crowded room, long before you can say who they are. The subconscious has already done its work quietly and confidently, while the conscious mind is still searching. This same system also picks up on smaller details that never quite reach conscious awareness, like the particular way a friend tilts their head or holds their shoulders. You may not be able to describe these details if asked, yet your subconscious uses them constantly to tell familiar people apart from strangers. It is a quiet, private skill, built entirely without effort on your part. And tonight, even as your eyelids grow heavy, that same gentle recognition system continues its quiet task, sorting familiar warmth from the unfamiliar, keeping a soft account of everyone you hold close. Sometimes a decision arrives not as a thought, but as a feeling, a quiet certainty in the chest or stomach that something is right or wrong before any reasoning has taken place. This sensation, often called a gut feeling, is frequently the subconscious mind delivering a conclusion it has already reached. Your subconscious is constantly gathering information from your surroundings, including subtle cues in tone of voice, posture, and timing that your conscious mind may never fully register. When enough of these small signals point in one direction, the subconscious can produce a strong sense of unease or comfort, well before you can explain why. This is not mysticism. It is pattern recognition happening quietly and quickly, drawing on years of accumulated experience that your conscious mind simply cannot access as fast. A person who has spent years reading situations, whether in relationships or in a familiar workplace, often develops sharper gut feelings precisely because their subconscious has more patterns to draw from. The feeling arrives first, and the reasoning, if it comes at all, follows only afterward as an attempt to explain what the subconscious already understood. There is something reassuring in knowing that a part of you is always listening this closely, always weighing small details on your behalf, long before you consciously notice anything unusual. Tonight, that same quiet awareness is still present, though its work has shifted from vigilance to something softer, simply keeping watch as you rest. Long before your first breath, your subconscious was already listening. Studies of prenatal development have shown that a developing baby can begin to recognize the particular sound and rhythm of their mother's voice in the final months before birth, distinguishing it from other sounds in the environment. Sound reaches the womb in a muffled, filtered form, yet the pattern and cadence of a familiar voice still comes through clearly enough to leave an impression. This means that recognition, one of the subconscious mind's most essential skills, was already forming before you had ever opened your eyes to the world. After birth, this early familiarity often continues to matter. Newborns have been shown to respond with particular calm to their mother's voice compared to unfamiliar voices, a preference that traces back to those quiet months of listening before birth. Your subconscious did not need language or explanation to begin this process. It simply absorbed rhythm and tone over time, the same way it absorbs countless other patterns throughout life, quietly and without instruction. There is something tender in this thought. The very first relationship your subconscious ever built was with a sound, a voice, something warm and steady, heard from somewhere just beyond understanding. That same instinct to find comfort in a familiar voice has stayed with you ever since, quietly present even now as gentle words settle around you in this space. Language moves quickly, faster than most people realize, and much of the work of understanding it happens beneath conscious awareness. As someone speaks, your subconscious mind is constantly predicting what word or phrase is likely to come next, drawing on grammar, context, and years of exposure to how people typically talk. This is why you sometimes find yourself anticipating the end of a sentence before it has been spoken occasionally, even finishing it in your own mind, a beat ahead of the speaker. This prediction happens so quickly and so quietly that it rarely feels like a separate step at all. It simply feels like understanding. Yet underneath that smooth experience, your subconscious is running constant calculations, narrowing down likely possibilities with every new word it hears. This same predictive skill helps you follow conversations in noisy rooms, fill in words you may have misheard, and make sense of unfamiliar accents more easily over time. None of it requires deliberate effort. Your subconscious has simply absorbed the patterns of language so thoroughly that prediction has become automatic. There is a quiet intelligence in this system, one that works constantly in the background of every conversation you have ever had, asking nothing of you in return. Tonight, as words drift gently past you, that same subconscious system continues its familiar work, softening now into simple comfort rather than analysis content to simply let the sound settle around you. There is a particular kind of memory that seems to resist forgetting in a way other memories do not. A person who has not ridden a bicycle in many years can often still climb onto one and ride away with little trouble, even if the details of when or where they last learned have long since faded from conscious memory. This is because certain skills once learned deeply enough are stored not as facts to be recalled, but as patterns held by the subconscious mind, sometimes called procedural memory. Unlike remembering a name or a date, which relies on conscious retrieval and can weaken over time, these deeply practiced skills become embedded in a different kind of memory system, one that operates largely outside of conscious awareness. Balancing, pedaling, and steering all become automatic responses coordinated by the subconscious, without requiring you to think through each individual motion. This is the same system that allows a musician to play a familiar piece with their hands moving almost independently of conscious thought, or a typist to write quickly without looking at each key. The learning was effortful once, built through repetition and patience, but the storage becomes remarkably durable. There is something comforting in knowing that certain things once truly learned are never entirely lost. Tonight, your body carries countless such skills quietly within it, resting now, needing nothing from you except the stillness to let them remain exactly where they are. Imagine a car swerving unexpectedly nearby, or a sudden loud noise breaking a quiet room. In moments like these, your body often reacts before your mind has fully caught up to what is happening. This is because your subconscious mind includes a rapid threat detection system, centered partly in a small almond-shaped structure deep within the brain, that can trigger a protective response before conscious awareness has finished processing the situation. Your muscles may tense, your breath may catch, or your hand may instinctively move to protect you all before you have consciously registered fear as a feeling. This system exists because reacting quickly to potential danger has long mattered more for survival than reacting perfectly. Speed was prioritized over full understanding. Only afterward, once the immediate reaction has occurred, does the slower conscious mind catch up, assess the situation more fully, and either confirm the danger or realize it has passed. This explains why a sudden startle can leave your heart racing even after you consciously recognize that nothing is actually wrong. The subconscious system does not wait for permission. It has already acted, already protected you, before thought had the chance to intervene. Tonight, in this quiet, familiar space, that same protective system remains present but calm, recognizing safety rather than threat, allowing your body to lower its guard fully and rest without needing to stay alert. At some point today, a fragment of a song may have appeared in your mind, uninvited, playing quietly on repeat without any clear reason for its arrival. This experience, often called an earworm, is a small but telling example of how active the subconscious mind remains, even when you are not deliberately thinking about anything in particular. Your subconscious continuously processes sounds, rhythms, and patterns from your environment, and occasionally a fragment surfaces on its own, triggered by something as simple as a familiar rhythm in someone's speech or a passing melody heard hours earlier. You did not consciously decide to begin humming that tune, yet there it was, looping gently in the background of your thoughts. Researchers who study this phenomenon note that certain melodies, particularly simple and repetitive ones, are more likely to loop this way because they are easier for the subconscious to hold and replay. This quiet musical activity is not a malfunction. It is simply evidence of a mind that never fully switches off, one that continues to process and replay fragments of the day, even during idle moments. There is something almost charming in this, a reminder that your inner world remains gently alive, even when you are doing nothing at all. Tonight, if a soft melody happens to drift through your mind as you settle in, let it simply pass through one more small sign of a mind easing gently toward rest. Sit across from someone for even a few minutes and your subconscious begins quietly reading far more than the words being spoken. Tone of voice, the pace of breathing, small shifts in posture, and fleeting changes in facial expression are all absorbed continuously by your subconscious mind, often long before your conscious awareness catches up to what has changed. This is why you can sometimes sense that a friend is upset before they have said anything to suggest it, or feel a room grow tense before you understand why. Your subconscious has already gathered the small cues and compared them against everything it has learned about that person over time. This quiet sensitivity develops naturally through experience. The more time you spend with someone, the more detailed your subconscious understanding of their patterns becomes, until you can sense a shift in their mood, the way you might notice a change in the weather without needing to be told directly. This skill rarely announces itself. It simply shapes the way you respond, prompting you to soften your voice or ask a gentle question before you fully understand why you felt the need to do so. There is a quiet closeness in this kind of attentiveness, built entirely without conscious effort. Tonight, wherever you are, that same subconscious awareness remains gently present, attuned not to worry, but simply to comfort, ready to notice ease the moment it arrives. Breathing seems like something you control, and in small ways you do, yet the vast majority of every breath you take today has been managed entirely by your subconscious mind. A cluster of cells deep within the brainstem continuously monitors the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your blood, adjusting the rate and depth of your breathing without requiring a single conscious decision from you. While you were speaking earlier, your subconscious was quietly timing each breath between your words. While you ate a meal, it adjusted your breathing rhythm around each bite and swallow. Even now, as you sit or lie still listening to these words, your breath continues its steady rise and fall without a moment of deliberate thought from you. This system rarely draws attention to itself, precisely because it works so consistently well. It is only in rare moments, perhaps after a shock or a burst of exertion, that you become consciously aware of your breathing at all. And even then, your subconscious quickly settles it back into its familiar rhythm once the moment has passed. There is a quiet dependability in this arrangement, one that has continued unbroken since the earliest moments of your life outside the womb. You have never had to remember to breathe during a long meeting, a deep sleep, or a moment of laughter. It simply continues gently and automatically, exactly as it does right now, exactly as it will, while you drift towards sleep tonight. Certain scents have a peculiar power to pull an old memory forward with startling clarity, sometimes so vividly that a moment from decades earlier feels present again for just a few seconds. This happens because the part of the brain that processes smell is closely connected to regions involved in memory and emotion more directly than any other sense. When a scent enters, your subconscious mind can retrieve an associated memory almost instantly without any deliberate searching on your part. You did not consciously decide to think of a childhood kitchen when a particular smell drifted past. Your subconscious simply recognized the pattern and offered the memory freely, complete with the feeling that accompanied it the first time. This is different from remembering a fact or a date, which usually requires some conscious effort to recall. Scent-triggered memories tend to arrive fully formed, emotional, and immediate, precisely because they bypass the slower, more deliberate pathways used for other kinds of memory. Researchers have long noted that these memories often feel unusually detailed and emotionally rich compared to memories triggered by sight or sound. There is something quietly moving about a system that keeps such tender memories ready and waiting, tucked away until the right scent happens to bring them forward again. Tonight, in this quiet room, whatever gentle memories are held nearby remain simply that held safely, needing nothing further from you than rest. There is a familiar experience many people share, wrestling with a difficult problem for hours, without success, only to wake the next morning with the answer suddenly clear. This is not simply coincidence. Sleep researchers have found that the subconscious mind continues processing information during sleep, particularly during certain stages associated with memory consolidation, allowing connections to form that conscious effort alone could not reach. While the conscious mind rests unable to actively focus or reason, the subconscious continues quietly reorganizing information, testing associations, and occasionally arriving at solutions that then surface upon waking. This is part of why stepping away from a difficult problem, whether through sleep or simply a change of activity, often proves more effective than forcing continued focus. The subconscious does not need constant attention to keep working. It simply requires the space that comes when the conscious mind steps back. Many well-known creative and scientific insights throughout history have been described this way, arriving suddenly after a period of rest rather than during active, effortful thinking. This suggests something gentle and reassuring about how the mind actually works. Struggling harder is not always the answer. Sometimes rest itself is the more productive choice, allowing a quieter part of you to continue the work without strain. Tonight, whatever thoughts you set down before sleep, know that your subconscious may continue turning them over gently, long after your conscious mind has finally let go. A sudden sharp sound, a door slamming, or a loud clap can cause your body to flinch almost instantly, often before you have any conscious sense of having heard anything at all. This rapid response is coordinated by your subconscious mind through a very short neural pathway that bypasses the slower, more detailed processing typically used to identify and interpret sounds. The purpose of this shortcut is speed rather than accuracy. Your subconscious would rather have your body flinch unnecessarily at a harmless noise than risk a delayed reaction to something genuinely dangerous. Only a fraction of a second later does the rest of your brain catch up, identifying the source of the sound and either confirming there was reason for concern or, more often, recognizing that the noise was harmless after all. This is why a flinch can feel almost embarrassing in hindsight, a reaction to something as simple as a dropped book or a chair scraping across the floor. The subconscious was not wrong to react. It was simply following a system built for protection rather than precision, one shaped by a much older need to respond quickly to unexpected sound. There is something almost tender in this readiness, a quiet vigilance that has protected you through countless ordinary days. Tonight, in this calm and familiar space, that same system can finally soften, recognizing quiet as simply quiet with nothing here that requires its attention. Watch two old friends deep in conversation, and you may notice something curious if you look closely enough. Without either person realizing it, their postures often begin to mirror one another. A crossed arm, answered by a crossed arm, a leaning posture matched by another lean. This phenomenon, sometimes called mirroring, is driven almost entirely by the subconscious mind, which tends to subtly copy the body language of people we feel connected to or comfortable around. This mimicry happens far too quickly and too naturally to be a conscious decision. Instead, it reflects a deeper subconscious process related to empathy and social bonding, one that helps build a sense of closeness between people without either person needing to say a word about it. Researchers who study this behavior have found that people are more likely to mirror those they like or feel aligned with, and less likely to mirror strangers or people they feel distant from. In this way, posture itself becomes a quiet, unspoken form of connection, shaped entirely by processes neither person is aware of in the moment. There is something gentle in imagining all the small, invisible ways your subconscious has reached toward warmth throughout your life, matching a friend's ease, softening around someone kind, all without instruction. Tonight, wherever you are resting, your body remains free to settle into whatever posture feels most natural, with nothing left to mirror except stillness itself. Long before you could speak a single sentence, long before you understood what a memory was or what a feeling meant, your subconscious mind was already fully at work. It coordinated your first breath, regulated your first heartbeat, and began quietly learning the patterns of the world around you, all without any language to describe the process. Infants recognize rhythm, tone, and comfort long before they understand words, relying entirely on subconscious processing to make sense of a world that has not yet been explained to them. This is, in many ways, the truest form of the subconscious mind, working steadily and completely without needing explanation or awareness to justify its presence. As you grew, language and conscious thought slowly layered on top of this foundation, giving you the ability to reflect, to reason, and to describe. Yet underneath all of that later development, the same quiet system remained, still regulating your body, still recognizing patterns, still working exactly as it always had. In many ways, your subconscious has been the most constant companion of your entire life, present before memory, before language, before understanding itself. It has simply continued patiently and without need for recognition. Tonight, as words settle gently around you, know that the part of you receiving this comfort was listening and working, long before it ever had a name for what it was doing, and it continues that same quiet work right now. Every moment you are alive, an almost unimaginable volume of information passes through your senses, far more than your conscious mind could ever hope to handle directly. Light striking your eyes, sound reaching your ears, pressure against your skin, and countless internal signals from your organs all arrive continuously. And it is your subconscious mind that receives the overwhelming majority of it. Researchers who study sensory processing have estimated that the nervous system takes in millions of individual signals every second, while conscious awareness manages only a small, carefully filtered portion of that total. To make this scale easier to hold in mind, imagine a vast library receiving new books every second of every day, far more than any single reader could ever open. Yet somehow, the library still manages to keep everything organized, retrievable, and ready. That is closer to what your subconscious does, continuously sorting, filtering, and discarding information so quickly that you never feel overwhelmed by it. Without this filtering, ordinary life would be unbearable, an endless flood of raw sensation with no way to focus on anything at all. Instead, your subconscious quietly decides moment to moment what deserves your conscious attention and what can simply be handled without it. This is not indifference. It is care expressed through selection, allowing you to experience the world in a way that feels manageable rather than overwhelming. Tonight, that same filtering system continues, gently reducing the noise of the day until only quiet remains. If you were to imagine your entire mind as a single day, conscious awareness would occupy only a brief portion of it, while the subconscious would fill nearly all the remaining hours. Cognitive scientists generally agree that the capacity of conscious attention is remarkably limited compared to the vast processing capacity of the subconscious mind. You can consciously hold only a small handful of thoughts or items in mind at any given moment, yet your subconscious is simultaneously managing digestion, balance, breathing, emotional regulation, memory storage, and pattern recognition, all at once without any of it entering your awareness, unless something goes wrong. This is not a flaw in how the mind is built. It is instead an efficient design, one that reserves conscious attention for the tasks that genuinely benefit from deliberate focus, such as solving a new problem or navigating an unfamiliar situation, while leaving everything else to a system built for constant, reliable operation. Think of conscious awareness as a small light held in your hand, useful for illuminating whatever is directly in front of you, while the subconscious operates like the much larger structure surrounding that light, fully present but rarely seen directly. You are never truly aware of how much is happening beneath the surface at any given moment, and that unawareness is in itself a kind of gift. It allows you to move through life without the exhausting burden of consciously managing every single process required simply to remain alive. Consider an entire day, from waking to sleeping, and try to count how many actions were made with full conscious deliberation. The list is shorter than it seems. Brushing your teeth, walking to another room, adjusting your posture, reaching for a cup, even the rhythm of your speech during a casual conversation are largely directed by your subconscious mind, drawing on patterns learned and repeated so many times that conscious thought is no longer required. Only a small number of moments each day genuinely demand focused, deliberate attention, such as making an important decision or learning something entirely new. Everything else runs on a kind of quiet autopilot, guided by a system that has learned your habits so thoroughly it can execute them with almost no oversight. This is remarkably efficient. If every single action required full conscious attention, an ordinary day would become exhausting within its first hour. Instead, your subconscious carries the weight of routine, allowing your conscious mind to reserve its limited energy for the handful of moments that truly need it. This division of labor has developed over your entire life, refined through repetition, until your subconscious became fluent in the language of your daily routines. It knows the exact number of steps to your kitchen. It knows how your hand curls naturally around a familiar mug. Tonight, as your day finally comes to its end, that same quiet guidance is easing you gently toward the routines of rest. To understand the scale of what your subconscious manages without pause, consider your heart alone. On an ordinary day, it beats somewhere around 100,000 times each beat, coordinated by subconscious processes that adjust automatically depending on your activity, your emotions, and even the time of day. To place that number in a more human scale, imagine counting slowly, one number every second, without ever stopping. It would take over 27 hours of continuous counting just to reach the number of times your heart beats in a single day, and your heart accomplishes this without a single moment of rest or hesitation. Every one of those beats is triggered by an electrical signal generated by specialized cells within the heart itself, cells that respond to instructions sent quietly by the subconscious nervous system. This process began before you were born and will continue uninterrupted for the entirety of your life. You never consciously initiate a single heartbeat, and you never have to remember to keep it going even during the deepest, most restful stages of sleep. There is something almost humbling in the reliability of this system. a rhythm so constant and so essential that its absence, even briefly, would be immediately dangerous. Instead, it simply continues quietly and faithfully, exactly as it is doing right now beneath these very words, patient and unwavering as you drift closer to rest. Breathing happens so continuously that it becomes almost invisible to conscious awareness. Yet, across an average day, a person takes somewhere around 20,000 breaths, each one coordinated by the subconscious mind without requiring a single moment of deliberate attention. To understand that number on a more human scale, imagine breathing in and out, once every 4 seconds, continuously for an entire day. It sounds exhausting to imagine consciously, and yet your subconscious performs this task, effortlessly adjusting the depth and pace of each breath, depending on whether you are resting, speaking, exercising, or sleeping. This adjustment happens with remarkable precision. During a stressful moment, your subconscious may quicken your breathing slightly to bring in more oxygen. During a quiet, restful moment like this one, it gradually slows the rhythm, instead deepening each breath and easing your body toward calm. None of this requires instruction from you. You have never had to consciously plan 20,000 breaths in a single day, and yet it happens quietly and completely, every single day of your life. There is a profound kind of trust embedded in this arrangement, one your body has extended to your subconscious since your very first breath outside the womb. Tonight, as you continue this same unbroken rhythm, notice how naturally each breath arrives and departs, needing nothing from you except the willingness to let it continue exactly as it always has. Across a single, ordinary day, your eyes blink somewhere in the range of 15,000 times, each blink lasting only a fraction of a second, and almost entirely directed by your subconscious mind rather than conscious decision. To place this scale in a more relatable frame, imagine that if each blink was stretched into a full second of complete darkness, you would spend roughly 4 hours of every day with your eyes closed, and yet you never experience your vision as interrupted at all. Your subconscious manages this seamlessly, timing each blink so briefly and so smoothly that your visual experience of the world remains continuous and unbroken. This is a remarkable feat of coordination, one that keeps your eyes properly moistened and protected without ever costing you a noticeable gap in awareness. Interestingly, your subconscious also adjusts blink rate depending on context, slowing it during moments of intense focus and increasing it slightly during rest or conversation, almost as though it senses when protection matters more than sustained attention. All of this happens without your permission or your notice. A quiet, continuous act of maintenance performed thousands of times daily on your behalf. There is something gentle in imagining this rhythm present since early childhood, blinking steadily through every day you have ever lived. Tonight, as your eyelids grow heavier and slower, that same subconscious rhythm begins its final blinks of the day, guiding you gently toward the longer rest that follows. If you were to add together every heartbeat, every breath, every blink, and every small automatic adjustment your subconscious makes across an entire lifetime, the resulting number would climb well into the billions, an amount almost impossible to picture directly. To bring this closer to a human scale, consider that if you tried to consciously perform even a single one of these actions once every second for your entire life, you would still fall short of the total your subconscious manages effortlessly in the background. This is the quiet scale of a single ordinary life, filled with an almost incomprehensible number of small automatic acts of maintenance, each one necessary. Each one performed without applause or acknowledgement. Your subconscious does not tire of this repetition the way a conscious effort eventually might. It does not need encouragement, rest breaks, or moments of recognition. It simply continues day after day, decade after decade, sustaining a body it has quietly cared for since before memory began. There is something deeply steady in this thought. a reminder that beneath every memory you hold, every relationship you have built, and every moment you have consciously lived, an enormous and largely invisible effort has been unfolding continuously to make all of it possible. Tonight adds simply one more quiet chapter to that vast ongoing total. One more set of breaths and heartbeats folded gently into a lifetime of steady, uncounted care. There is a common assumption that the mind simply switches off during sleep, yet this is far from accurate. While conscious awareness fades as you drift into sleep, your subconscious mind remains remarkably active, continuing to regulate breathing, heart rate, body temperature, and hormone release throughout the entire night. It also continues processing memories, sorting through the events of the day, strengthening some while allowing others to fade. A process researchers believe plays an important role in learning and emotional balance. Even the muscles that keep you shifting position periodically throughout the night, preventing stiffness or discomfort, are guided by subconscious signals rather than any conscious decision on your part. In many ways, sleep is not an absence of activity, but a shift in what kind of activity is taking place, moving from the effortful, deliberate work of conscious thought to the quieter, steadier maintenance performed by the subconscious. This is part of why a full night of rest leaves you feeling restored rather than simply paused, because your subconscious has spent those hours actively caring for your body and mind rather than leaving them idle. There is something reassuring in this. You are never truly unguarded, even in your deepest sleep, because a steady, quiet system remains present the entire time. Tonight, as your conscious mind slowly lets go, that same faithful subconscious system will remain fully present, continuing its quiet work long after you have stopped noticing it at all. As your body settles into sleep each night, your subconscious mind begins a quiet process of review, sifting through the countless experiences gathered over the previous day. Researchers studying memory consolidation have found that certain stages of sleep are closely associated with this sorting process, during which the brain appears to replay patterns of activity linked to recent experiences, strengthening some connections while allowing others to fade naturally. This is not a random process. Your subconscious seems to prioritize information tied to emotional significance or repeated exposure, gradually deciding what deserves to be carried forward into long-term memory and what can be gently released. You are never consciously aware of this happening. There is no sensation of sorting, no feeling of files being organized. It simply occurs quietly beneath the surface of sleep, night after night, shaping the person you become one day at a time. This is part of why a difficult day sometimes feels softer by morning, and why a piece of new information learned before bed is often recalled more easily the next day. Your subconscious has been working on it throughout the night, without needing your involvement or awareness. There is something quietly moving in imagining this process happening tonight as well. Your subconscious gently reviewing today's small moments, deciding what to keep close and what to let drift away, all while you rest completely, undisturbed by the effort being made on your behalf. Most people assume their memory consists only of what they can consciously recall in a given moment, yet this represents only a small surface layer of a much larger system. Your subconscious mind stores an enormous reservoir of information, including memories, sensations, and learned associations that conscious recall may never directly access, yet which continue to influence you in subtle ways. A forgotten childhood song can still shape your sense of comfort. A half-remembered lesson from years ago can still guide a decision without you recognizing the source. This deeper storage does not disappear simply because it has become difficult to consciously retrieve. Instead, it often remains quietly present, waiting to be triggered by the right cue, whether a scent, a sound, or a familiar feeling. Psychologists have long studied how certain memories that seem entirely lost to conscious recall can resurface unexpectedly under the right conditions. suggesting that far more is retained than is ever consciously accessible at any single moment. This means your subconscious carries a version of your life history that is considerably richer and more complete than the version you can consciously narrate. There is something comforting in this. Nothing meaningful is ever entirely gone. It may simply be resting quietly, held safely by a part of you that never stopped keeping track. Tonight, as your conscious thoughts grow softer and quieter, that same deep reservoir remains steady beneath you, holding everything gently in place. Conscious, active memory, often called working memory, is surprisingly limited. Most research suggests that a person can hold only a small number of distinct items in conscious focus at any given time, perhaps enough to remember a short list or a brief set of instructions before the details begin to slip away. This limitation can feel frustrating in daily life, yet it exists for a practical reason. Working memory is designed for temporary active use, not for long-term storage, and its narrow capacity keeps conscious attention focused rather than overwhelmed. Your subconscious mind, by contrast, faces no such limitation. It holds an almost unmeasured amount of information, from long-forgotten details of childhood to the precise motions required for tasks you no longer think about consciously at all. This division works together rather than against itself. Your conscious mind handles the immediate pressing task in front of you, while your subconscious quietly maintains everything else ready to supply relevant information the moment it becomes useful. This is why a fact you could not consciously recall earlier in the day sometimes surfaces effortlessly later, once the pressure of active searching has eased. Your subconscious was holding it steadily the entire time, simply waiting for the right moment to offer it back to you. Tonight, as your working memory grows quieter and less active, your subconscious continues holding everything else gently in place, patient and unhurried. At this very moment, your subconscious mind is managing several entirely separate bodily systems simultaneously, without any of them requiring your conscious attention. It is adjusting your internal temperature, perhaps causing tiny, imperceptible changes in blood flow near your skin to keep you comfortably warm or cool. At the same time, it is coordinating the slow, complex process of digestion, moving food gradually through your system, using rhythmic, muscular contractions you never consciously direct. It is also constantly managing balance, using signals from your inner ear and subtle muscle adjustments to keep your body steady, whether you are sitting, lying down, or moving through a room. Each of these systems operates independently, yet your subconscious coordinates all of them together, continuously and without conflict, as though managing a small orchestra where every instrument plays in time without a visible conductor. If you tried to consciously manage even one of these processes, deliberately, digestion alone would likely become inefficient, disrupted by overthinking a process meant to run automatically. Your subconscious avoids this problem entirely by keeping these systems below the threshold of conscious awareness, allowing them to function smoothly and efficiently without interference. There is a quiet elegance in this kind of multitasking one. Your body performs continuously without ever feeling strained by the effort. Tonight, all of these systems continue their steady work together, quietly cooperating beneath the surface, allowing you to simply rest while they carry on exactly as they always have. Habits often form so gradually and so quietly that a person can repeat the same subconscious pattern thousands of times before ever becoming consciously aware it exists at all. A particular way of tapping a finger while thinking a specific path taken through a familiar building, or a certain phrase used at the start of a sentence, can all become deeply ingrained through repetition, long before conscious attention catches up to notice the pattern. Researchers who study habit formation note that once a behavior becomes sufficiently automatic, it tends to be triggered by context rather than conscious decision, meaning the same situation reliably produces the same subconscious response each time. This explains why habits can feel so difficult to consciously identify, let alone change. They were never built through deliberate choice in the first place. They emerged slowly through quiet repetition until the subconscious simply absorbed them as part of its normal operating pattern. It often takes an outside observation, a friend pointing something out, or a video recording to finally reveal a habit that has been running quietly in the background for years. This is not something to feel unsettled by. It simply reflects how thoroughly your subconscious learns from repetition, absorbing patterns so completely that they become part of the automatic fabric of your daily life. Tonight, whatever quiet habits shape your evening routine are simply doing what they always do, guiding you gently and familiarly toward the same comforting rhythm of rest. Learning any complex skill, whether playing an instrument, typing quickly, or driving smoothly through traffic, follows a similar underlying pattern within the subconscious mind. In the earliest stages, a new skill requires intense conscious focus, with each individual movement feeling deliberate and effortful. Over time, through consistent and repeated practice, the subconscious gradually takes over more and more of the process, absorbing the pattern until it no longer requires conscious oversight at all. Researchers studying skill acquisition have found that this shift typically requires a substantial number of repetitions, often numbering in the thousands, before a movement becomes fully automatic. This is why early piano lessons feel slow and effortful, while an experienced pianist can play familiar passages with their hands moving almost independently of conscious thought. The subconscious has simply absorbed the pattern so completely that conscious effort is no longer necessary for the basic mechanics, freeing conscious attention, instead for expression, timing, or interpretation. This same process applies to countless daily skills you no longer notice at all, from typing a message without looking at the keys, to navigating a familiar drive while your mind wanders elsewhere. Each of these abilities began as effortful learning and gradually became quiet automatic mastery. Tonight, whatever skills your hands and body have quietly perfected over the years remain safely held within you, resting now, needing nothing further to prove themselves. Speed is one of the defining qualities of the subconscious mind, and the difference between subconscious reaction and conscious thought is measured in fractions of a second that feel instantaneous to everyday experience. Certain protective reflexes, such as pulling a hand away from something unexpectedly hot, can occur through pathways that bypass higher brain processing almost entirely, allowing your body to react before pain has even been consciously registered. Even outside of true reflexes, many subconscious responses, such as catching a falling object or adjusting your balance on uneven ground, happen remarkably quickly compared to the slower, more deliberate pace of conscious decision-making. To place this in a more relatable frame, consider how much slower a consciously planned action feels by comparison, requiring you to notice, decide, and then act, a sequence that takes noticeably longer than the near-instant subconscious response it often precedes. This speed exists for good reason. In situations requiring immediate protection or adjustment, waiting for full conscious analysis could mean the difference between safety and harm. Your subconscious mind trades some accuracy for this speed, occasionally reacting to something harmless as though it were a genuine threat. But this trade-off has served the body well across a long evolutionary history. Tonight, in this calm and settled space, that same rapid system remains present but quiet, no longer needed for protection, simply resting alongside you as your body eases gently into stillness. Somewhere within your body right now, an intricate immune system is quietly at work, identifying and responding to countless microscopic threats without ever requiring conscious direction. Your subconscious mind, working through the nervous system's connection to the immune system, helps regulate inflammation, coordinate the release of protective cells, and manage the body's ongoing defense against illness and infection. This process is remarkably complex, involving communication between the brain hormones and immune cells scattered throughout the body. Yet it unfolds entirely below the threshold of conscious awareness. You have never had to consciously instruct your body to fight off a minor infection or heal a small wound. Your subconscious manages this coordination continuously, adjusting its response depending on your stress levels, your sleep quality, and countless other subtle internal signals. Researchers studying the connection between the nervous system and immune function have found that chronic stress can interfere with this delicate balance, which is part of why rest and calm are not simply pleasant experiences, but genuinely supportive of the body's protective systems. This means that moments of genuine relaxation like this one are not separate from your physical well-being. They actively support the very system working quietly to protect you. Tonight, as your body settles further into rest, your subconscious continues this quiet, protective work, strengthened rather than interrupted by the calm you're allowing yourself to feel right now. The first years of life represent one of the most intense periods of subconscious learning a person will ever experience. During early childhood, the brain forms new neural connections at an extraordinary pace, absorbing language patterns, emotional cues, social behaviors, and countless environmental details, most of which are processed and stored well before conscious memory is capable of holding on to specific events. This is part of why most people cannot consciously recall much from their earliest years, even though those years shaped fundamental patterns of behavior, comfort, and understanding that persist for a lifetime. Your subconscious mind was working tirelessly during this period, learning the rhythm of a caregiver's voice, the meaning behind facial expressions, and the basic structure of language, all without conscious effort or deliberate study. Developmental researchers describe this early period as a time of remarkable neural growth, during which the brain absorbs more foundational information relative to its size than at almost any other point in life. Though conscious memory rarely reaches back that far, the subconscious impressions formed during those years remain quietly influential, shaping instincts and preferences that continue well into adulthood. There is something profound in recognizing that the earliest, most foundational learning of your entire life happened without your conscious awareness at all, absorbed quietly and completely by a mind still too young to reflect on what it was doing. Tonight, that same foundation remains steadily present within you, an old and familiar structure supporting everything that came afterward. Standing or sitting still might seem like a state of rest, yet your subconscious mind is constantly active behind the scenes, making countless tiny muscular adjustments every minute, simply to keep your body balanced against gravity. Your inner ear continuously monitors the position of your head, while pressure sensors throughout your feet and joints send a steady stream of information to your subconscious about your body's position in space. In response, small muscles contract and release, constantly correcting for the slightest sway or shift, long before you would ever consciously notice yourself losing balance. This process happens whether you are standing in a quiet room or sitting comfortably in a chair, and it continues without pause for as long as you remain upright. Physical therapists and movement researchers often note that this constant subconscious balancing is so seamless that most people never realize how much continuous effort it actually involves. Effort that becomes far more noticeable only when something disrupts it, such as illness or fatigue. Under ordinary circumstances, your subconscious handles this task so smoothly that balance simply feels like stillness, rather than the active, ongoing process it truly is. There is something quietly impressive in this constant, invisible labor, performed minute after minute, without ever asking for a single moment of conscious attention. Tonight, as your body settles into a resting position and this particular task finally quiets, notice how naturally your muscles release, no longer needing to hold you upright against anything at all. Sleep may feel like a complete withdrawal from the world, yet your subconscious mind remains quietly attentive, even during its deepest stages, monitoring your surroundings for sounds that might matter. This is why a parent can sleep through steady background noise, yet wake instantly at the faint sound of their child stirring, or why a person can remain undisturbed by ordinary household sounds, but wake immediately at the sound of their own name spoken softly nearby. Researchers studying sleep have found that the brain continues processing auditory information throughout the night, filtering most sounds as unimportant, while remaining ready to respond to specific meaningful cues. This selective attention happens entirely through subconscious processing, since conscious awareness is largely absent during deep sleep. Your subconscious essentially stands a quiet watch throughout the night, distinguishing between sounds that deserve a response and those that can simply continue as part of the background. This protective function likely developed for very practical reasons, allowing rest to continue undisturbed by irrelevant noise, while still preserving the ability to respond quickly if something genuinely required attention. There is comfort in this arrangement. You are never as unguarded during sleep as it might feel because part of you remains quietly present, listening gently on your behalf. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, that same subconscious watchfulness will remain softly active, allowing you to rest completely while still being cared for in the background. By the time a person reaches adulthood, their subconscious mind holds an extraordinary accumulation of learned patterns gathered continuously since infancy and layered together into something remarkably intricate. Every language habit, every social instinct, every physical skill, and every emotional association has been absorbed and stored, most of it without conscious effort or deliberate memory of the learning process itself. This vast collection does not sit separately from daily life. Instead, it operates quietly beneath the surface of every single moment, shaping reactions, preferences, and instincts long before conscious thought has the chance to weigh in. A single, ordinary interaction, a conversation with a friend or a walk through a familiar neighborhood, draws on thousands of these accumulated patterns, simultaneously blending language, memory, emotional association, and physical coordination into something that feels effortless and seamless. This is the quiet architecture beneath everything you experience, as simply being yourself. None of it was built consciously or all at once. It accumulated slowly, pattern by pattern, across an entire lifetime, forming the deep and steady foundation upon which conscious thought rests. There is something grounding in recognizing the scale of what lies beneath ordinary awareness, a vast and patient structure built entirely through living. Tonight, that same structure remains quietly present beneath you, holding steady, asking for nothing, simply continuing to be exactly what it has always been. There is a particular experience many people share, arriving at a familiar destination with little memory of the drive itself, as though the entire journey passed by while their thoughts were somewhere else entirely. This happens because your subconscious mind is fully capable of managing a well-practiced task, like a familiar drive handling, steering, braking, and navigation almost entirely on its own, once the route has become deeply ingrained through repetition. You are not truly absent during this experience. Your subconscious remains alert and responsive the entire time, ready to react instantly if anything unexpected occurs, even while your conscious attention drifts toward a memory, a conversation, or simply the quiet rhythm of the road. This is one of the clearest everyday examples of how much trust you place in your subconscious without ever fully realizing it. You allow it to guide an entire physical task, one involving real responsibility and real attention, while your conscious mind rests elsewhere entirely. It rarely lets you down. Your subconscious has learned that route so completely that it can manage the familiar turns and signals with the same ease it manages your breathing or your balance. There is something quietly reassuring in this. You are cared for, even in the ordinary moments when your mind feels distant or distracted by a part of you that never stopped paying attention. Tonight, wherever your thoughts happen to wander, as you rest, that same steady, quiet presence remains close beside you. The comfort you feel in the presence of certain people rarely arrives as a conscious decision. Long before you might describe someone as trustworthy or safe, your subconscious mind has already been quietly gathering evidence, noticing the steadiness of their voice, the openness of their expression, and the consistency of their behavior. Over time, once enough of these small signals align, your subconscious produces a feeling of ease, a lowered guard, a softened posture, all before your conscious mind has fully articulated why. This is part of why comfort with certain people tends to deepen gradually, built through repeated small moments rather than any single decisive conversation. Your subconscious is essentially keeping a quiet, ongoing account of trust, updating it continuously with each interaction, each kind word, each moment of reliability. When you feel yourself relaxing naturally in someone's presence, that ease is the visible result of a great deal of invisible subconscious evaluation that has already taken place. This is one of the quieter, more tender functions of the subconscious mind, one focused not on protection from danger, but on recognizing safety and warmth. It allows closeness to develop naturally, without requiring constant conscious effort to reassess whether someone can be trusted. There is something gentle in imagining this quiet, ongoing work happening in the background of every relationship you hold dear. Tonight, wherever your thoughts settle, know that this same subconscious sense of safety continues quietly within you, recognizing comfort wherever it is found. Step into a space that feels deeply familiar. Your own bedroom, a favorite chair, a quiet corner of your home, and something subtle often happens in your body before you consciously notice it. Your shoulders drop slightly. Your breathing deepens. Muscles that had been holding some quiet tension throughout the day begin to release, guided entirely by your subconscious mind's recognition of safety and familiarity. This response develops because your subconscious continuously compares your current environment against everything it has learned about safety over your lifetime, and a space associated repeatedly with rest and comfort becomes a powerful trigger for physical relaxation. You do not have to consciously remind yourself to relax in a familiar space. Your subconscious has already made that association long ago, through countless repeated experiences of comfort and safety within those same walls. This is part of why unfamiliar environments, even pleasant ones, like a hotel room, often feel slightly harder to fully relax in during the first night, since your subconscious has not yet built the same deep association with safety in that particular space. Familiarity in this sense becomes a kind of quiet permission for your body to fully let go. There is something tender in recognizing how much of your comfort depends on associations built slowly over time, through nothing more than repeated presence in a space that came to feel like your own. Tonight, wherever you are resting, let your subconscious recognize this moment exactly as it is meant to, a space of safety ready for your shoulders to soften completely. There is a particular kind of confidence that comes from moving through your own home in complete darkness, reaching for a light switch, or navigating around furniture without a single misstep, guided entirely by a mental map. Subconscious mind has built through repeated experience. This spatial memory develops gradually, without any deliberate effort to memorize the space consciously. Instead, your subconscious absorbs the layout naturally through repeated movement, gradually forming an internal map so detailed that conscious sight becomes almost unnecessary for a familiar space. Researchers who study spatial memory have found that this kind of environmental knowledge is stored differently from other memories, integrated closely with movement and physical experience rather than simple visual recall. This is why you can often navigate a familiar hallway more easily in darkness than you could describe its exact layout if asked directly. The knowledge lives in your body and your subconscious as much as in conscious memory. Every home you have ever lived in long enough has likely been mapped this way, absorbed quietly through daily movement, until navigating it became entirely automatic. There is something comforting in this kind of deep familiarity, a quiet trust your body places in a space simply because it has moved through it so many times before. Tonight, wherever you are, that same quiet spatial memory rests easily within you, needing no light at all to know exactly where you are. Listen closely to how your voice changes depending on who you are speaking to, and you may notice a subtle shift that happens without any conscious planning at all. When speaking with someone you feel close to, someone you love or deeply trust, your subconscious mind often softens the tone, slows the pace slightly, and adjusts the pitch of your voice in ways that convey warmth and safety. This adjustment happens automatically, shaped by years of subconscious learning about how closeness is expressed through sound rather than words alone. Researchers who study vocal communication have found that tone and pitch often carry as much emotional information as the actual words being spoken, and your subconscious manages this layer of communication almost entirely on its own. You do not consciously decide to speak more gently to someone you love. It simply happens, guided by an accumulated history of warmth associated with that particular relationship. This same subconscious system allows you to sense affection in someone else's voice long before you consciously register the specific words being said, picking up on a softness or warmth that carries meaning all its own. There is something quietly beautiful in recognizing that love shapes even the most basic mechanics of your voice without requiring any deliberate effort on your part. Tonight, wherever gentle words reach you, know that this same soft, warm quality is simply your subconscious offering closeness in the most natural way it knows. There is a reason the sound of rain against a window so often brings an immediate sense of calm, one that seems to settle into the body before any conscious thought has formed about it. Your subconscious mind associates certain natural sounds, particularly steady rhythmic ones like rainfall, with safety and rest, likely shaped by a long history of associating shelter and stillness with the sound of weather outside. Researchers studying sound and relaxation have found that consistent low-frequency sounds like rain tend to activate a calming response in the body, gently lowering heart rate and easing tension without requiring any conscious effort. To relax, your subconscious does not need to be told that rain means safety. It has learned this association quietly over countless repeated experiences of being warm and sheltered while rain falls outside. This is part of why so many people find rain sounds naturally soothing, even those who could not explain exactly why the sound feels so calming. The response is not intellectual. It is a quiet, automatic shift occurring beneath conscious awareness, triggered simply by a familiar and steady pattern of sound. There is a gentle kind of comfort in recognizing that even something as simple as rainfall can carry deep subconscious meaning, built through a lifetime of small, safe moments. Tonight, whether or not rain happens to be falling nearby, that same soothing association remains quietly present within you, ready to ease your body toward calm. Think of an ordinary morning, the sequence of small decisions made almost without thought. Which cup to use, which route to take, what order to complete each task. These choices feel effortless, not because they lack complexity, but because your subconscious mind has learned your routines so thoroughly that decision-making has become almost entirely automatic. Each repetition of a routine strengthens the underlying pattern, gradually reducing the conscious effort required until the entire sequence unfolds smoothly, almost like a well-rehearsed piece of music. This is part of why disruptions to routine, even small ones, can feel surprisingly unsettling. Your subconscious has built comfort and efficiency around a familiar pattern, and any deviation requires conscious attention to return effort that ordinarily would not be needed at all. Researchers studying habit and decision-making note that this kind of automation frees up considerable mental energy, allowing conscious thought to focus on more meaningful or unfamiliar challenges throughout the day. Without this subconscious efficiency, even simple mornings would require exhausting deliberation over every small choice. There is something quietly reassuring in recognizing how much smoother your subconscious makes ordinary life, absorbing the weight of routine so thoroughly that most of your day unfolds with barely any conscious effort at all. Tonight, as your evening routine gently guides you toward rest, notice how naturally each familiar step unfolds, carried easily by patterns your subconscious has learned and repeated many times before. There is a small, quiet shift that often happens the moment you settle into a favorite chair, one so subtle it rarely draws conscious attention. Your breathing deepens slightly, your shoulders lower. A faint sense of ease spreads through your body, guided entirely by your subconscious mind's recognition of comfort and familiarity. This response develops through repeated association, built slowly across countless quiet moments spent resting in that same spot. Your subconscious has learned, without needing to be told, that this particular chair is linked to safety, rest, and calm, and it responds accordingly the moment your body settles into its familiar shape. This is part of a broader pattern in how your subconscious manages relaxation throughout daily life, constantly scanning your environment for cues of safety and adjusting your physical state accordingly. A stiff, unfamiliar seat rarely produces the same immediate ease, simply because your subconscious has not yet built the same deep association with comfort in that particular place. Over time, however, even new spaces can develop this same calming effect. Once enough peaceful moments have been spent there to teach your subconscious that this too is now a place of rest. There is something quietly touching in recognizing how much comfort depends on these small, repeated associations built gently over time without any conscious effort. Tonight, wherever you are resting, let your subconscious recognize this familiar stillness and ease your breathing exactly as it always does. Hold something fragile or precious, a sleeping infant, a delicate cup, an old photograph, and notice how naturally your grip adjusts to protect it, without requiring any deliberate calculation on your part. Your subconscious mind continuously monitors pressure and touch through countless sensors in your skin, adjusting the strength of your grip instantly based on the perceived fragility and importance of whatever you are holding. This adjustment happens far too quickly to be a conscious decision. It reflects a deeply ingrained subconscious system that balances firmness with gentleness, calibrated by years of tactile experience and, in many cases, emotional significance. You do not consciously measure the exact pressure needed to hold a loved one's hand without gripping too tightly. Your subconscious has already learned through countless small interactions precisely how much gentleness that moment calls for. This same system allows you to instinctively cradle something breakable more carefully than something sturdy, often before you have even consciously registered what you are holding. There is a quiet tenderness embedded in this ability, a physical expression of care that requires no thought at all, simply an accumulated history of learning what gentleness feels like. Tonight, as your hands rest still beside you, that same quiet capacity for gentleness remains present within them, needing nothing more from you than the stillness to simply let them rest. Fatigue often announces itself through the body before the mind has consciously acknowledged feeling tired at all. A yawn, a slower blink, a heavier feeling in the limbs, these small physical signals are frequently generated by your subconscious mind, well before conscious awareness catches up to recognize tiredness as a feeling. Your subconscious continuously monitors internal signals related to energy levels, hormone balance, and accumulated wakefulness. adjusting your body's behavior accordingly, even while your conscious mind remains focused elsewhere on a task or conversation. This is part of why people sometimes yawn repeatedly during a quiet moment, before realizing just how tired they actually are. The body responding honestly to a state the conscious mind has not yet paused to notice. Researchers who study fatigue note that these subtle physical cues often serve as the body's earliest, most honest signals of a need for rest, appearing well before conscious thought fully registers the feeling. Your subconscious does not wait for permission to begin preparing your body for sleep. It simply responds to the accumulated signals of a long day, gently nudging your body toward rest, even while your mind continues its usual activity. There is something quietly attentive in this early awareness, a system paying closer attention to your needs than you are consciously paying to yourself. Tonight, if a yawn has already arrived, or if one is on its way, know that your subconscious noticed your need for rest long before you did, and it is simply following through on that quiet observation now. Certain words, offered gently at just the right moment, have a way of settling somewhere deep and staying there long after the conversation itself has been forgotten. Your subconscious mind tends to hold on to emotionally meaningful language, with particular care storing not just the words themselves, but the warmth and feeling that accompanied them. This is why a compliment or a kind reassurance from years ago can still surface, unexpectedly offering comfort in a difficult moment, even though the exact circumstances of when it was said have faded from conscious memory. Psychologists who study emotional memory have found that feelings tied closely to meaningful experiences tend to be retained with particular strength. Even when the surrounding details grow hazy over time, your subconscious seems to recognize which moments carried genuine significance, setting them gently aside for safekeeping, rather than allowing them to blend into the ordinary flow of forgotten days. This means that kindness once offered and received rarely disappears entirely. It becomes part of a quiet, internal collection, drawn upon without conscious effort whenever comfort or reassurance is needed. There is something deeply gentle in imagining this collection, built slowly across an entire lifetime, filled with small moments of warmth, offered by people who may not even remember saying them. Tonight, somewhere within that quiet collection, a kind word is resting, ready to offer its warmth again the moment you need it, even without your asking. A particular melody can sometimes bring an immediate sense of comfort or calm, even when the specific memory attached to it has long since faded from conscious recall. This happens because your subconscious mind links music closely with emotional states, forming associations that persist even after the original context surrounding that music has been forgotten. A song once played during a peaceful childhood evening, or hummed quietly by someone who made you feel safe, can retain its calming effect for decades, long after the details of that original moment have disappeared from memory. Researchers studying music and emotion have found that melodies tied to early or emotionally significant experiences often produce a stronger physiological calming response than unfamiliar music, regardless of whether the listener can consciously explain why. Your subconscious does not need the full memory intact to preserve the feeling. It simply retains the emotional association, offering comfort through familiarity, even when the story behind it has quietly slipped away. This is part of why certain songs feel inexplicably soothing, carrying a warmth that seems disconnected from any specific memory you can name. There is something beautifully durable in this kind of subconscious memory, one built on feeling rather than fact, resistant to the usual fading that affects more detailed recollections. Tonight, if any quiet melody drifts through your thoughts, let it simply offer its familiar comfort without needing to be traced back to any memory at all. Walk through your own neighborhood and notice how effortlessly you know which way to turn, which shortcuts save time, and which streets lead where. all without ever having deliberately studied a map. This internal sense of direction develops through your subconscious mind's ability to absorb spatial patterns gradually, simply through repeated movement through a familiar area. Each walk, each drive, each errand run through the same streets adds another small layer to an increasingly detailed mental map, built entirely without conscious study or memorization. Researchers who study spatial cognition have identified specialized regions of the brain that appear to construct and maintain these internal maps automatically, updating them as new routes become familiar and old ones fade from relevance. This is why returning to a childhood neighborhood, even after many years away, can bring a surprising and immediate sense of orientation, as though the old mental map had simply been waiting quietly, ready to be used again the moment it was needed. Your subconscious does not discard this kind of spatial knowledge easily, treating it instead as a valuable, deeply ingrained pattern worth preserving. There is a quiet steadiness in this ability, a sense of belonging built entirely through familiarity rather than deliberate effort. Tonight, wherever your neighborhood happens to be, that same quiet map remains held gently within you, complete and ready even as you rest without needing to think of it at all. Tension often gathers quietly in the jaw throughout the day, tightened subconsciously in response to stress, concentration, or simply the accumulated effort of staying alert. When true ease finally arrives, whether through rest, comfort, or safety, one of the first places your subconscious mind often releases that built-up tension is precisely there in the small muscles surrounding your jaw. This release usually happens without any conscious instruction. You do not typically decide to relax your jaw the way you might consciously decide to unclench a fist. Instead, your subconscious registers the surrounding sense of safety and gradually allows that particular tension to dissolve on its own, often before you even notice it had been present at all. Physical therapists and relaxation researchers frequently point to the jaw as one of the body's most common areas for unconscious tension, precisely because it responds so directly to subtle shifts in stress and emotional state. This is part of why a genuine, deep sense of calm often produces a very specific physical sensation. A slight parting of the lips, a softening around the cheeks, a quiet looseness that feels distinctly different from ordinary stillness. There is something gentle in recognizing how closely your body listens to your emotional state, releasing tension the moment it senses it is finally safe to do so. Tonight, as calm continues to settle more deeply around you, notice whether your jaw has already begun that same quiet release. Certain tastes carry an emotional weight that seems to outlast almost every other kind of memory, resurfacing with striking clarity even when far more significant details from the same period have long since faded. Your subconscious mind tends to store taste memories, particularly those tied to childhood meals prepared by someone who cared for you with unusual durability. Likely because taste is so closely intertwined with comfort, safety, and repeated positive experience. A specific spice, a particular way a dish was prepared, or the simple combination of familiar ingredients can instantly transport a sense of warmth, long after the exact dates, locations, or even the person who prepared the meal have grown difficult to recall precisely. Researchers who study memory and the senses note that taste and smell are processed through brain pathways closely connected to emotional memory, which may help explain why these particular recollections feel so vivid and immediate compared to more abstract memories like dates or specific conversations. Your subconscious does not prioritize chronological accuracy in these moments. It prioritizes feeling, offering the sensation of comfort itself, rather than a precise timeline of when or where it originally occurred. There is something quietly moving in recognizing that some of your most treasured memories may not exist as clear stories at all, but simply as feelings carried gently within taste and preserved with remarkable clarity. Tonight, Whatever quiet comfort a familiar taste might bring to mind, let it simply rest there, warm and unhurried, exactly as your subconscious has always kept it. There is a subtle physiological shift that often occurs the moment a familiar, comforting voice reaches your ears, one that your subconscious mind manages entirely without conscious effort. Your heart rate may ease slightly, your breathing may deepen. A gentle sense of calm can spread through your body. Triggered simply by the tone and familiarity of a voice your subconscious has long associated with safety. This response is closely tied to how deeply your nervous system links certain sounds with feelings of security, an association built gradually through repeated positive experiences with a particular person's voice over time. Researchers studying the physiological effects of vocal tone have found that calm, warm speech patterns can measurably influence heart rate and relaxation in listeners, particularly when the voice belongs to someone already associated with comfort and trust. Your subconscious does not require the content of the words to produce this effect. Tone and familiarity alone are often enough to trigger a calming physical response, independent of whatever is actually being said. This is part of why a soothing voice can ease tension, even during an ordinary conversation about nothing particularly significant at all. There is something quietly powerful in recognizing how much comfort can be carried simply through sound, offered and received entirely below conscious awareness. Tonight, as these words continue softly around you, that same gentle physiological ease may already be settling quietly into your body, guided simply by tone and familiarity. Step into a softly lit, comfortably furnished room, and your subconscious mind begins assessing the space for comfort almost instantly, well before conscious thought has fully caught up to notice anything specific about the environment. Warm lighting, soft textures, and a sense of enclosed safety are all processed rapidly by your subconscious, which draws on a lifetime of associations between these particular qualities and feelings of rest. This rapid assessment influences your physical state directly, often easing muscle tension and slowing your breathing slightly, even before you have consciously thought a single word about how comfortable the room feels. Environmental psychologists who study the effects of physical space on well-being have found that certain qualities, softness, warmth, gentle lighting, tend to reliably produce a calming physiological response across most people, suggesting that this subconscious sensitivity to comfort is a fairly universal human trait. Your subconscious essentially performs a quiet evaluation of safety and comfort every time you enter a new space, adjusting your body's readiness accordingly, without requiring any conscious decision from you. This is part of why certain rooms simply feel more restful than others, even when you cannot immediately articulate exactly why. There is something quietly attentive in this constant subconscious evaluation, always working gently in the background to help you feel at ease. Tonight, wherever you are resting, that same quiet system has likely already recognized this space as one of comfort, easing your body accordingly. The precise words exchanged during a conversation often fade from memory far more quickly than the feeling that conversation left behind, particularly when that feeling involves laughter shared with someone close to you. Your subconscious mind tends to preserve the emotional texture of a memory, the warmth, the ease, the particular sound of a friend's laugh, long after the specific details of what was actually said have grown difficult to recall with any accuracy. This happens because emotional and sensory elements of memory are often processed and stored differently than factual content, giving them a kind of durability that outlasts more precise recollection. A friend's laugh, in particular, carries a distinct and highly personal quality, one your subconscious can often recognize instantly, even after years apart, even when the specific jokes or stories shared together have long since faded. This is part of why old friendships can feel immediately comfortable after long periods apart. The subconscious, recognizing familiar warmth, even before conscious memory has fully caught up to the reunion. There is something quietly beautiful in this kind of selective memory, one that seems to prioritize feeling over fact, warmth over detail. Tonight, if the memory of a familiar laugh happens to drift gently through your thoughts, let it simply remain there, warm and unhurried, exactly as your subconscious has chosen to preserve it. Learning something new with your hands, whether it is typing, cooking, or handling a tool, often begins with a noticeable stiffness, a careful, deliberate grip shaped by conscious concentration. Over time, as the task becomes familiar, your subconscious mind gradually takes over the finer details of movement, and with that shift often comes a quiet release of unnecessary tension. Hands that once gripped tightly out of uncertainty begin to move more loosely and efficiently, guided by patterns your subconscious has learned so thoroughly that excess effort is no longer required. This transition rarely feels dramatic. It happens gradually, one small adjustment at a time, until a task that once required careful attention feels almost effortless. Occupational researchers who study repetitive movement have noted that skilled, experienced hands typically use less muscular tension than beginner hands performing the same task, a direct reflection of how completely the subconscious has absorbed the necessary pattern. This is part of why an experienced cook can chop vegetables with relaxed fluid movements, while someone new to the task grips the knife with visible effort and concentration. Your subconscious does not just learn the mechanics of a task. It learns the most efficient, least effortful way to perform it, gradually smoothing away unnecessary tension until only ease remains. Tonight, your hands rest quietly, familiar with countless tasks learned and mastered over the years, needing nothing further from you but stillness. As daylight softens into evening, a quiet shift begins within your body, guided almost entirely by your subconscious mind's response to changing light. Specialized cells within the eyes detect the gradual dimming of natural light and send signals to a small region deep within the brain responsible for regulating your internal body clock. In response, your subconscious begins adjusting hormone levels, gradually increasing the release of substances associated with drowsiness, while easing back those linked to alertness. This process unfolds gradually and continuously without requiring any conscious decision from you at all. You do not consciously instruct your body to begin preparing for sleep each evening. Your subconscious has been tracking the rhythm of light and darkness since your earliest days, refining this internal clock through years of consistent daily patterns. This is part of why evenings so often carry a naturally different quality than mornings, a subtle shift in energy and mood, shaped by processes working quietly beneath conscious awareness. Even artificial evening light, softer and warmer than daylight, tends to support rather than disrupt this natural transition, allowing your subconscious to continue its gradual preparation for rest. There is something quietly reassuring in this rhythm, present and steady every single evening of your life, guiding you gently towards sleep long before you consciously decide it is time to rest. Tonight, that same quiet preparation is already underway, softly and steadily, exactly as it always is at this hour. Physical touch leaves an unusually durable impression on the subconscious mind, one that can remain vivid and recognizable even after many years without repetition. The particular feeling of a familiar embrace, the pressure, the warmth, the specific way someone holds you, is stored by your subconscious with remarkable clarity, often resurfacing instantly the moment that same embrace is offered again, even after a long absence. Researchers who study touch and emotional memory have found that physical affection activates brain regions closely tied to emotional processing, which may help explain why these particular memories feel so immediate and vivid compared to more abstract recollections. Your subconscious does not require frequent repetition to preserve this kind of memory. A single, deeply meaningful embrace, shared during a significant or emotionally important moment, can be preserved with striking clarity for years, ready to be recognized instantly whenever it happens again. This is part of why reuniting with someone after a long separation can feel immediately familiar the moment they embrace you. Your subconscious, recognizing something conscious memory alone could never fully describe. There is something profoundly tender in this kind of memory, held not in words or images, but in feeling itself patient and enduring across time. Tonight, whatever warmth of touch your subconscious holds quietly within its memory remains safely preserved, there needing nothing further from you than the stillness to simply rest. There are few sounds more personally significant than the sound of your own name, and your subconscious mind responds to it with particular sensitivity, especially when it is spoken with warmth and affection. Studies on auditory attention have found that people are remarkably quick to notice their own name, even in a noisy or crowded environment, a phenomenon that reflects just how deeply your subconscious prioritizes this particular sound above almost all others. When your name is spoken gently by someone you trust, your subconscious often responds with an immediate softening, a subtle physical ease that spreads through the body before conscious thought has fully processed the moment. This response develops through a lifetime of association, your subconscious having learned repeatedly that hearing your name spoken warmly usually accompanies safety, attention, and care. This is part of why being addressed gently by name, particularly during a difficult or uncertain moment, can feel unexpectedly comforting, even if the surrounding words themselves are unremarkable. Your subconscious recognizes the personal significance, instantly responding with warmth before conscious reasoning has caught up. There is something quietly moving in recognizing how much meaning your subconscious attaches to something as simple as your own name, treating it not merely as a label, but as a signal of genuine attention and care. Tonight, wherever warmth reaches you, let your subconscious receive it exactly as it is meant to, gently and completely. A path walked often enough becomes something your subconscious mind knows almost as intimately as it knows your own home, capable of guiding your footsteps steadily, even when your attention is elsewhere entirely. Each uneven patch, each familiar turn, each subtle change in surface has been quietly recorded through repeated experience, allowing your subconscious to anticipate and adjust for these details automatically, long before conscious thought would ever need to intervene. This is why walking a familiar route feels effortless compared to navigating an unfamiliar one where conscious attention must remain far more engaged to avoid missteps or hesitation. Researchers studying motor learning have found that repeated exposure to a specific physical environment allows the brain to build highly efficient movement patterns tailored precisely to that space, reducing the cognitive effort required. With each additional repetition, your subconscious essentially becomes a quiet, reliable guide along paths you have walked many times, freeing your conscious mind to wander toward other thoughts entirely while your feet continue moving safely and steadily. There is a kind of trust embedded in this ability, built slowly through repetition, that allows you to move through familiar spaces with a sense of ease rather than constant vigilance. Tonight, wherever your thoughts may wander, know that this same steady, practiced guidance remains quietly available to you, patient and dependable, exactly as it has been built to be through years of familiar footsteps. There is a particular kind of relief that settles into the body the moment a front door closes and locks for the night. A subtle but real sense of safety, recognized almost entirely by your subconscious mind. This response develops through years of consistent association between that specific sound and the beginning of a safe, enclosed period of rest, free from the demands and unpredictability of the outside world. Your subconscious does not need to consciously reason through this association each time. It has simply learned through countless repetitions that this particular sound reliably marks a transition into safety, prompting a quiet physical easing that often follows almost immediately. Environmental and behavioral researchers who study everyday rituals have noted that small, consistent cues like this one, a closing door, a dimmed light, a familiar lock turning, often serve as powerful subconscious signals that help the body transition smoothly from alertness to rest. This is part of why disrupting such a ritual, forgetting to lock a door, or leaving before that familiar sound occurs, can sometimes leave a lingering, hard-to-name sense of unease, simply because the usual subconscious signal for safety was never received. There is something quietly comforting in recognizing how much of your sense of security depends on these small, repeated rituals, absorbed effortlessly by your subconscious over time. Tonight, whatever quiet ritual has already marked the beginning of your rest, know that your subconscious has recognized it fully, settling gently into the safety it represents. Trust builds gradually, and much of that gradual process happens beneath conscious awareness, guided by your subconscious mind's continuous, quiet evaluation of safety within a relationship. Each shared moment, each instance of reliability, each small kindness offered without expectation, slowly accumulates within your subconscious, gradually lowering the instinctive guardedness that once existed at the beginning of that relationship. This is why early interactions with someone new often carry a subtle wariness, even when nothing has gone wrong, simply because your subconscious has not yet gathered enough evidence to fully relax. Over time, as trust deepens, that same subconscious system begins to ease, allowing genuine comfort and openness to develop naturally without requiring constant conscious reassurance. Researchers who study relationship psychology have found that trust tends to develop gradually through consistent, repeated positive experiences rather than through any single decisive event, reflecting how carefully and patiently the subconscious tends to build this particular kind of safety. This is part of why long-established relationships often feel so effortlessly comfortable. The accumulated weight of countless small, trustworthy moments, having gradually dissolved almost all subconscious wariness. There is something quietly beautiful in recognizing how patiently your subconscious tends to this process, never rushing, simply gathering gentle evidence over time. Tonight, wherever comfort and trust already exist in your life, know that your subconscious built that ease, slowly and carefully, moment by moment, exactly as it was meant to. Certain objects carry a subconscious association with comfort so deeply rooted that even decades later their texture alone can trigger an immediate sense of calm. A favorite childhood blanket worn soft through years of use often becomes linked in the subconscious mind with safety, warmth, and the particular comfort of being cared for during early life. This association does not simply fade once childhood ends. Instead, it often remains quietly present, ready to resurface the moment a similarly soft texture is encountered again, even if the original blanket itself has long since been lost or set aside. Researchers who study sensory memory have found that texture, much like scent, can be a particularly powerful trigger for emotional recall, often bypassing more deliberate conscious memory entirely. This is part of why a soft blanket in adulthood can still feel unexpectedly comforting, tapping into an old, familiar subconscious association built many years earlier. Your subconscious does not require the exact original object to produce this feeling. Similarity alone is often enough to trigger the same underlying sense of safety and comfort. There is something quietly touching in recognizing how tenderly your subconscious preserves these early comforts, carrying them forward across an entire lifetime, ready to be rediscovered whenever softness and warmth appear again. Tonight, wrapped in whatever soft comfort surrounds you now, that same old, familiar sense of safety may already be settling gently around you. Sit quietly beside someone who is deeply relaxed, and your own body may begin to shift in response, often without either of you noticing it happening at all. This phenomenon, sometimes referred to as physiological synchrony, reflects how closely your subconscious mind attunes itself to the people around you, gradually adjusting your breathing rhythm to align more closely with a calm companion nearby. Researchers who study this effect have found that people sitting together for extended periods often begin to show measurable similarities in breathing and even heart rate, particularly when one person is notably calm and the other trusts their presence. Your subconscious does not require any conscious effort to begin this synchronization. It happens gradually and naturally, guided by subtle cues such as the rise and fall of a companion's shoulders or the steady, unhurried quality of their presence nearby. This is part of why simply sitting with a calm, trusted person can feel soothing even without conversation, your own body quietly adjusting to match the steadiness it senses close by. This same subconscious tendency likely served an important social function throughout human history, allowing calm to spread naturally through a group and helping maintain a shared sense of safety. There is something quietly moving in recognizing how much comfort can be shared simply through presence, without a single word exchanged. Tonight, wherever calm surrounds you, your subconscious may already be gently easing your breathing to match it, settling deeper into that shared stillness. Laughter shared during a genuinely happy moment tends to leave an unusually vivid impression on the subconscious mind, one that often outlasts the memory of whatever caused the laughter in the first place. Your subconscious mind seems to prioritize these particular emotional sounds, storing not just the memory of laughing together, but the distinct quality of that shared joy, ready to be recognized instantly even years later. This is part of why hearing an old friend laugh again after a long separation can feel immediately warm and familiar. Your subconscious, recalling that particular sound long before conscious memory has fully reconstructed the relationship itself. Researchers who study emotional memory have noted that shared positive experiences, particularly ones involving genuine connection and laughter, tend to be retained with unusual clarity, likely because such moments carry strong social and emotional significance. Your subconscious treats this kind of memory as something worth preserving, carefully distinct from the more ordinary details of daily life that tend to fade more readily over time. This means that somewhere within you exists a quiet collection of remembered laughter, gathered gently across a lifetime of meaningful relationships, ready to resurface warmly whenever triggered by a similar sound or moment. There is something deeply comforting in imagining this collection built entirely from joy shared with people who mattered. Tonight, if any echo of familiar laughter drifts gently through your thoughts, let it simply remain there, warm and untroubled, exactly as your subconscious intended it to stay. The smell of a familiar meal being prepared often reaches your subconscious mind well before conscious hunger has been consciously acknowledged, triggering physical responses that begin quietly in the background of awareness. Certain scents, particularly those tied to meals prepared repeatedly throughout childhood or by people close to you, are processed rapidly by your subconscious, which begins preparing your body for eating, sometimes increasing saliva production or subtly shifting attention even before you consciously recognize the smell or feel hungry. This response reflects how closely smell and memory are linked within the brain, allowing familiar scents to bypass much of the slower, more deliberate processing used for other senses. Your subconscious does not need to consciously identify the exact dish being prepared to begin this response. Familiarity alone, built through repeated exposure over many years, is often enough to trigger recognition and anticipation almost instantly. This is part of why walking into a home filled with the scent of a familiar dish can feel comforting in a way that seems to arrive before any conscious thought has fully formed about it. There is something quietly nostalgic in this ability, a reminder that certain comforts return to you not through memory alone but through the body itself, responding instinctively to signals it has long since learned to trust. Tonight, whatever quiet comfort familiar sense may carry, let your subconscious simply recognize them exactly as it always has. There is a particular kind of relief that settles into the body during a conversation, where you finally feel truly understood, a subtle physical shift guided almost entirely by your subconscious mind. Shoulders that had been held slightly tense begin to lower, breathing deepens. A quiet sense of ease spreads through the body, triggered by your subconscious, recognizing that the emotional effort of being misunderstood or the vigilance of guarding your words carefully is no longer necessary. This response develops from your subconscious, constantly monitoring social interactions for signs of genuine connection versus polite distance, adjusting your body's tension accordingly. Being truly understood, even briefly, signals a kind of safety that your subconscious responds to almost immediately, often before you have consciously articulated the relief you are feeling. Researchers who study interpersonal communication have found that a genuine sense of being heard is closely linked to measurable reductions in physical stress markers, suggesting that this subconscious relaxation reflects something real happening within the body, rather than simply a passing feeling. This is part of why deep understanding conversations often leave people feeling physically lighter afterward, not just emotionally reassured. There is something quietly profound in recognizing how directly connection affects the body itself, easing tension your subconscious had been quietly holding all along. Tonight, wherever understanding and warmth reach you, let your subconscious release whatever quiet tension it no longer needs to hold. Most ordinary days blend together in memory, their specific details fading quickly as new experiences take their place. Small acts of kindness, however, often resist this fading in a way that ordinary events do not, preserved by the subconscious mind, with unusual durability precisely because of the emotional warmth attached to them. A stranger's brief moment of patience, a friend's unexpected generosity, or a simple gesture of care offered during a difficult time often remains vividly accessible long after countless more ordinary days have quietly disappeared from conscious recall. Researchers who study emotional memory suggest that experiences carrying genuine emotional significance are processed and stored differently than neutral routine events, receiving a kind of priority that helps protect them from the usual fading that affects less meaningful memories. Your subconscious seems to recognize, without needing to be told, that these moments deserve special preservation, gently setting them aside from the ordinary flow of forgettable days. This means that somewhere within you exists a quiet archive of remembered kindness, gathered patiently across an entire lifetime, far more extensive than conscious memory alone would suggest. There is something deeply reassuring in recognizing that kindness once given or received tends to leave a lasting trace, carefully preserved by a part of you that values it more than it values almost anything else. Tonight, wherever a small remembered kindness happens to surface, let it simply rest there, warm and quietly treasured. Falling asleep tends to come more easily in a familiar space, guided largely by your subconscious mind's association between that particular environment and safety, built gradually through countless previous nights spent resting there, without incident. Each night spent safely in the same space reinforces this association a little further, gradually deepening your subconscious sense that this particular place is reliably safe for rest. This is part of why unfamiliar environments, even comfortable ones, sometimes make falling asleep slightly more difficult during the first night, since your subconscious has not yet built the same depth of trust in that new space. Sleep researchers who study this phenomenon have noted that this initial difficulty tends to ease quickly, often resolving within just a night or two once your subconscious begins forming the necessary associations with safety in the new environment. Your subconscious approaches this process, patiently gathering evidence gradually, rather than deciding all at once that a space is trustworthy. This is part of a broader pattern seen throughout the subconscious mind, favoring accumulated experience over quick judgment, particularly when safety is involved. There is something reassuring in recognizing how carefully your subconscious tends to protect something as vulnerable as sleep, refusing to fully relax until enough familiarity has been established. Tonight, wherever you are resting, if this space has already become familiar to your subconscious, let that quiet trust guide you gently and completely toward rest. Texture carries a surprising amount of emotional weight within the subconscious mind, often linked closely to early experiences of comfort and care. Soft cotton in particular tends to be associated by many people's subconscious with safety and warmth, likely shaped by early childhood experiences involving soft blankets, clothing, or bedding encountered consistently during moments of comfort and care. This association forms gradually, without any deliberate teaching, simply through repeated physical experience during formative years. Once established, this kind of textural association tends to remain remarkably stable throughout life, capable of producing a small, immediate sense of ease whenever a similar texture is encountered again, even decades later. Researchers who study sensory processing have noted that touch, much like smell, is closely tied to emotional memory, allowing texture alone to trigger feelings that words could never fully capture or explain. Your subconscious does not require a specific memory to produce this response. The texture itself is often enough, a direct physical cue interpreted instantly as a signal of comfort and safety. This is part of why certain fabrics feel inherently soothing to touch, independent of any conscious reasoning about why that particular softness feels so calming. There is something quietly tender in recognizing how deeply comfort can be woven into something as simple as fabric. Tonight, wherever soft, familiar textures surround you, let your subconscious recognize them exactly as it always has, as a quiet, reliable signal of safety. There is a particular quality to a slow, unhurried voice that your subconscious mind responds to, almost immediately easing your own internal pace to match the calm rhythm being offered. This response develops because your subconscious closely associates pacing and tone with underlying emotional states, recognizing that a slow, steady voice typically signals safety, patience, and calm, rather than urgency or threat. In response, your subconscious often begins subtly slowing your own breathing and easing muscular tension, mirroring the calm being conveyed through sound alone. Researchers who study vocal pacing and relaxation have found that slower speech patterns are reliably associated with reduced physiological arousal in listeners, suggesting that this calming effect is a consistent and measurable response, rather than a simple matter of personal preference. Your subconscious does not need to consciously analyze the content of what is being said to respond this way. Pace and tone alone are often sufficient to trigger a gentle physiological easing independent of the specific words being used. This is part of why slow, gentle narration so often accompanies moments meant for rest, your subconscious recognizing and responding to that unhurried quality long before conscious thought has fully processed anything else. Tonight, as this same slow, steady pace continues quietly around you, notice how naturally your own body may already be easing to match it gently and without effort. There are moments when a place, a person, or a situation feels comforting without any clear conscious memory explaining why. A quiet reassurance your subconscious mind offers, even when the specific details behind it have long since faded. This happens because emotional memory and factual memory are processed and stored somewhat differently within the brain. allowing the feeling of comfort tied to an experience to persist even after the precise details of that experience have become difficult or impossible to consciously recall. Psychologists who study memory have noted that this kind of implicit emotional memory can remain intact even in cases where explicit, detailed memory has significantly weakened, suggesting that the subconscious preserves feeling with a durability that outlasts fact. This means you can trust a sense of comfort even without being able to explain it fully, since your subconscious is often responding to a genuine accumulated history, even if that history is no longer available to conscious recall. A particular street, a certain kind of quiet, a specific shade of evening light might bring calm for reasons your conscious mind cannot articulate, and that calm remains valid nonetheless. There is something quietly reassuring in trusting a feeling your subconscious has carefully preserved, even without needing to understand its exact origin. Tonight, wherever quiet comfort settles around you, let it simply be trusted, exactly as your subconscious intends it, without needing further explanation at all. The simple presence of someone who genuinely cares for you often produces a subtle physical shift within your body, guided almost entirely by your subconscious mind's recognition of safety and support. Breathing tends to deepen. Muscles that had been holding quiet tension begin to release. This response develops through your subconscious, continuously monitoring social cues, tone, and history, gradually building trust in particular relationships until their mere presence becomes enough to trigger physical ease. Researchers who study social bonding have found that feeling genuinely supported by another person is closely linked to measurable reductions in stress hormones, suggesting that this kind of subconscious comfort reflects real, physical changes rather than simply a passing emotional impression. Your subconscious does not require active reassurance in the moment to produce this effect. Simply being near someone your subconscious has already identified as safe and caring is often enough, allowing your body to ease gradually without any conscious effort required. This is part of why the quiet presence of a loved one, even without conversation, can feel deeply calming your subconscious. Recognizing safety through proximity alone, there is something profoundly gentle in recognizing how much comfort your body receives simply through connection offered and received far below the surface of conscious thought. Tonight, wherever care surrounds you, let your subconscious continue this quiet softening exactly as it is meant to, gently and completely. Beneath the surface of an ordinary day lies a quiet structure of small routines largely maintained by your subconscious mind that helps create a sense of steadiness even when the day itself feels uncertain or busy. A particular way of starting the morning, a habitual pause for tea in the afternoon, the familiar sequence of preparing for bed each night. These small rituals are tracked and reinforced by your subconscious without requiring deliberate conscious planning each time. Researchers who study daily habits have found that consistent small routines can meaningfully support emotional stability, offering a sense of predictability that helps the mind feel grounded even amid larger uncertainties elsewhere in first life. Your subconscious seems to understand this instinctively, quietly, protecting these small patterns and often producing a subtle sense of unease when they are unexpectedly disrupted. This is part of why even minor changes to a daily routine can feel more unsettling than their actual significance might suggest. Your subconscious registering the disruption to a pattern it has worked to maintain. There is something quietly comforting in recognizing how much steady structure your subconscious provides simply through repetition, offering a sense of reliability that requires no conscious effort to maintain. Tonight, as your own evening routine continues to unfold familiarly, that same quiet subconscious structure is gently guiding you exactly as it does at the end of every day. Soft, dim lighting carries a particular meaning for your subconscious mind, built gradually through a lifetime of association between fading light and the approach of rest. Unlike bright, cool light, which tends to signal alertness and activity, Warm, low light is generally interpreted by your subconscious as an early cue that the day is winding down, prompting subtle physiological changes that support relaxation. This response is closely tied to how your body's internal clock responds to light more broadly, with dimmer, warmer tones supporting rather than interrupting the natural release of hormones associated with drowsiness. Researchers who study lighting and sleep have consistently found that environments with warm, low light in the evening tend to support easier transitions into rest compared to bright, cool lighting, which can inadvertently signal alertness to the subconscious mind, even late into the evening. Your subconscious does not need to consciously calculate the time of day to respond this way. The quality of light itself is often enough to trigger the beginning of this gradual shift toward calm. This is part of why softly lit spaces in the evening so often feel instinctively more restful. Your subconscious, recognizing and responding to that particular quality of light long before conscious thought catches up. Tonight, wherever soft, warm light surrounds you, let your subconscious continue reading it exactly as it is meant to, as a gentle signal that rest is near. A gentle touch offered during a moment of comfort or reassurance tends to leave an impression on the subconscious mind that persists well beyond the moment itself, often resurfacing quietly during later times of stress or need. This is because touch is processed through pathways closely connected to emotional memory, allowing the sensation and its associated feeling of safety to be preserved with particular clarity, even when other details surrounding the moment have faded. Researchers who study touch and emotional regulation have found that gentle physical contact can measurably reduce stress responses in the body, and that this calming effect appears to be at least partially rooted in learned subconscious associations built through earlier comforting experiences. Your subconscious does not require the original moment to be repeated exactly for this comfort to resurface. A similar gesture, even offered by someone different, can trigger a familiar sense of ease, drawing on a subconscious memory built from an accumulation of past comforting touch rather than any single specific instance. This is part of why simple gestures, a hand resting gently on a shoulder, a light touch on the arm, so often carry more reassurance than words alone could provide. There is something quietly enduring in this kind of memory, held not as a story but as a feeling, ready to return exactly when needed. Tonight, whatever gentle comfort your subconscious has preserved through touch remains quietly close, resting easily alongside you. Tension tends to accumulate gradually throughout the day, often without full conscious awareness, shaped by countless small demands on attention and alertness. As your subconscious mind gradually recognizes an extended period of safety and calm, free from urgency or threat, it begins releasing this accumulated tension in stages rather than all at once. This is part of why deep relaxation often takes a little time to fully settle in, even in a space that already feels comfortable, your subconscious needing a period of sustained calm before fully trusting that tension can be released completely. Researchers who study stress and relaxation have found that the body's transition into a fully relaxed state tends to occur gradually, with muscle tension easing progressively over several minutes, rather than disappearing, instantly, reflecting how carefully the subconscious manages this kind of release. Your subconscious does not rush this process, even when the surrounding circumstances are clearly safe, preferring instead a slow, steady easing that mirrors how tension itself was gradually built up over the course of the day. This is a protective, careful approach, one that values thoroughness over speed when it comes to something as important as full relaxation. There is something quietly patient in this process, unfolding exactly at its own necessary pace. Tonight, as time continues to pass, gently and without urgency, let your subconscious continue this same slow, careful release, exactly as it is designed to unfold. As the sounds and demands of an active day gradually quiet down, your subconscious mind begins to shift its focus, moving away from constant environmental monitoring and toward a more restful, internal state. Throughout the day, your subconscious remains busy, processing a steady stream of sounds, movement, and social information work that requires sustained, quiet effort, even when you are not consciously aware of it. Once that external noise begins to fade, whether through evening, quiet, or a deliberately calm environment, your subconscious is gradually able to ease its constant vigilance, shifting instead toward internal processes like memory, consolidation, and physical restoration. Researchers who study sensory processing have noted that reduced environmental stimulation allows certain brain regions associated with rest and internal reflection to become more active, suggesting that quiet itself plays an important, functional role in supporting rest rather than simply being the absence of activity. Your subconscious does not experience stillness as emptiness. It experiences it as an opportunity, a chance to finally direct its attention inward rather than continuously outward. This is part of why quiet environments so often feel deeply restorative, not simply pleasant, but genuinely supportive of processes your subconscious has been waiting patiently to attend to all day. Tonight, as the noise of the day continues to soften and fade, your subconscious is already welcoming this stillness, ready to begin its quieter, more restorative work. There is a small, almost imperceptible moment of anticipation that often occurs the instant before your head meets a familiar pillow, guided by your subconscious mind's recognition of an object closely associated with rest, safety. This anticipation reflects a deeply ingrained association built through countless previous nights of comfort, linked specifically to that particular shape, texture, and support. Your subconscious does not require conscious reasoning to produce this response. It has simply learned through repetition that this specific object reliably signals the beginning of restful sleep, triggering a subtle physical easing even before contact has fully occurred. Sleep researchers have noted that familiar sleep objects, including pillows and bedding, can play a meaningful role in supporting easier transitions into rest, largely due to these kinds of deeply ingrained subconscious associations formed over time. This is part of why sleeping away from home, even in a comfortable setting, sometimes feels slightly less restful during the first night. The subconscious not yet having built the same depth of association with an unfamiliar pillow or bed. Over time, however, new objects can absorb this same comforting association. Once enough peaceful nights have taught the subconscious to trust them as well. There is something quietly touching in recognizing how much comfort your subconscious can find in something as simple and ordinary as a pillow. Tonight, as you settle into this familiar comfort, let your subconscious recognize it fully, exactly as it always does. There is a particular kind of comfort that comes from lying beside someone whose breathing has become deeply familiar, a quiet rhythm your subconscious mind recognizes and responds to almost instinctively. Over time, through countless shared nights, your subconscious learns the specific pace and pattern of a loved one's breathing so thoroughly that its presence alone can produce a subtle sense of calm, while its absence, even briefly, can register as a quiet, hard-to-name unease. This response develops gradually, without any conscious effort to memorize the pattern. Your subconscious simply absorbs it through repeated proximity, treating that familiar rhythm as a dependable signal of safety and closeness. Researchers who study co-sleeping and physiological synchrony have found that partners who share a bed regularly often show measurable alignment in their sleep patterns over time, suggesting that the body responds to a familiar companion's presence in ways that extend even into unconscious states. Your subconscious does not need conscious attention to continue recognizing this rhythm each night. It simply notices quietly and reliably, drawing comfort from something as steady and ordinary as breath. There is something deeply tender in this kind of familiarity, built slowly across countless shared nights, requiring nothing more than consistent presence over time. Tonight, wherever comfort surrounds you, whether shared or solitary, that same quiet capacity for recognizing familiar rhythm remains gently present within you. There is a subtle, often overlooked connection between physical stillness and emotional ease, one that your subconscious mind manages quietly through the natural relationship between body and mind. As your body settles into a still, resting position, your subconscious frequently interprets this physical stillness as an early signal of safety, gradually easing certain stress-related processes, even before any conscious effort has been made to calm racing thoughts. Researchers who study the connection between physical state and emotional regulation have found that deliberate physical stillness can measurably influence stress hormone levels, suggesting that the body itself plays an active role in emotional regulation, rather than simply reflecting the mind's state passively. Your subconscious appears to use physical cues like this as meaningful information, treating a still, relaxed body as evidence that immediate vigilance is no longer required. This is part of why simply lying down and remaining physically still, even without deliberately trying to relax, the mind often produces a natural easing of worry over time. Your subconscious responds to the body first, gradually allowing the mind to follow. There is something quietly reassuring in recognizing that ease does not always require mental effort to achieve. Sometimes stillness itself is enough to begin the process. Tonight, as your body continues to settle more fully into stillness, let your subconscious continue this same gentle easing, gradually softening whatever quiet worry remains. Not every meaningful memory involves a dramatic or significant event. Often, the subconscious mind quietly preserves the feeling of being cared for during entirely ordinary moments. A simple shared meal, a quiet evening spent near someone comforting, a small gesture offered without any particular occasion. All these unremarkable moments accumulate steadily over time, forming a deep subconscious reservoir of warmth that rarely announces itself directly, but continues to shape a person's underlying sense of security. Psychologists who study attachment and emotional development have noted that the consistent accumulation of small, ordinary, caring moments often matters more for long-term emotional well-being than any single significant event, precisely because these small moments repeat so often and so reliably. Your subconscious does not require grand gestures to register care. It simply notices consistency, gathering evidence quietly across countless unremarkable days, until a stable underlying sense of being cared for has been firmly established. This means that much of your deepest emotional security may rest not on any specific memory you could easily describe, but on an accumulated pattern your subconscious has been quietly tracking your entire life. There is something profoundly comforting in recognizing how much simple, ordinary care matters, even when it feels unremarkable in the moment it occurs. Tonight, whatever quiet care surrounds you, know that your subconscious is already gently adding it to that same steady, lifelong reservoir. Each breath you take carries more influence over your subconscious state than might initially seem obvious, particularly when that breath is slow and deliberately unhurried. Your subconscious mind continuously monitors the rhythm of your breathing as one of its primary indicators of overall bodily state, and a slow, steady breathing pattern tends to signal safety and calm, prompting a gradual, layered relaxation response throughout the body. Researchers who study the connection between breath and the nervous system have found that slow, deep breathing can directly influence the body's relaxation response, reducing heart rate and easing muscular tension through a well-documented physiological pathway. This means that the simple, quiet act of breathing slowly right now is not a symbolic gesture. It is a direct, functional signal your subconscious is actively using to guide your body further into rest. Each breath builds gently upon the last, gradually deepening the sense of calm, rather than requiring any additional conscious effort beyond the breath itself. Your subconscious welcomes this rhythm eagerly, treating each slow exhale as further confirmation that vigilance is no longer needed. There is something quietly powerful in recognizing that something as simple and constant as breath can carry this much influence over how safe and settled your body feels. Tonight, with every slow breath continuing gently, your subconscious carries you a little further into rest, exactly as it is designed to do. A voice that softens and lowers naturally tends to be interpreted by your subconscious mind as a clear and reliable signal of safety, prompting a gentle physiological easing that begins almost immediately. This response is shaped by a long history of association, since lowered gentle speech is typically used during moments of comfort, reassurance, and closeness, rather than urgency or alarm. Your subconscious has learned this pattern so thoroughly that it responds to tone almost independently of the specific words being spoken, easing tension and slowing internal processes the moment a voice shifts into this particular quality. Researchers who study vocal communication have consistently found that lowered pitch and softened volume are strongly associated with calming effects, in listeners suggesting that this response reflects a broadly shared human sensitivity, rather than something unique to any single relationship or person. Your subconscious essentially treats a softened voice as a trustworthy signal, one it has relied upon since infancy, when tone alone conveyed meaning long before language could be understood. This is part of why gentle, quiet narration so reliably supports relaxation, your subconscious recognizing and responding to that particular vocal quality instinctively. There is something quietly powerful in recognizing how much comfort tone alone can carry, independent of specific meaning. Tonight, as this voice continues softly and unhurried, notice how naturally your subconscious continues easing in response to it. Darkness itself carries a learned meaning within your subconscious mind, shaped gradually over a lifetime of consistent association between fading light and the safety of rest. For many people, this association strengthens steadily throughout life, as darkness reliably signals the end of the day's demands and the beginning of restorative sleep. Your subconscious does not experience darkness as emptiness or uncertainty once this association has been firmly established. Instead, it interprets darkness as a clear and welcome signal that rest is appropriate and safe, prompting a further easing of alertness throughout the body. Sleep researchers who study the relationship between light and rest have found that consistent exposure to darkness during sleep periods supports the body's natural hormonal preparation for rest, reinforcing this subconscious association night after night. This is part of why darkness so often feels deeply calming, rather than unsettling once early associations with safety have been firmly built, typically very early in life, through consistent, comforting nighttime routines. Your subconscious carries this learned association forward for a lifetime, treating darkness not as something to fear but as a familiar, trusted signal that the time for rest has finally arrived. There is something quietly reassuring in recognizing how thoroughly your subconscious has learned to welcome darkness rather than resist it. Tonight, as darkness gently settles around you, let your subconscious recognize it exactly as it always has, as a clear and gentle invitation to rest. As the day draws toward its close, your subconscious mind begins a gradual, carefully managed reduction in alertness, easing the body step by step rather than shutting down all at once. This process involves the coordinated adjustment of numerous internal systems, hormone levels shifting gradually, muscle tension slowly releasing, sensory processing gradually narrowing its focus, all guided quietly and continuously by your subconscious, without requiring any conscious direction. Researchers who study the transition into sleep describe this as a gradual process, rather than a single switch involving multiple overlapping systems that ease their activity in a coordinated sequence over time. Your subconscious manages this transition with remarkable care, ensuring that the shift toward rest occurs smoothly, rather than abruptly protecting the body from the disorientation that a sudden unmanaged shift might otherwise cause. This is part of why falling asleep typically feels like a gradual drifting, rather than an instant event, your subconscious carefully guiding you through each necessary stage in sequence. There is something quietly reassuring in recognizing how much careful coordination goes into something that feels from the outside as simple as falling asleep. Tonight, that same careful, gradual process is already underway, easing you gently and steadily, exactly as it has been designed to do since the earliest days of your life. Throughout this entire time together, your subconscious mind has been continuously active in the background, gradually easing your body toward the slower, calmer state it now approaches. Breathing has likely deepened somewhat since the beginning of this journey. Muscles have likely released small amounts of tension you may not have consciously noticed holding. None of this required deliberate effort on your part. It happened simply through the accumulated effect of calm words, steady pacing, and the quiet, patient work of a subconscious mind that has been listening closely the entire time. This is, in many ways, the clearest demonstration of everything explored so far. A living example of your subconscious mind at work, responding to tone, rhythm, and safety exactly as it is designed to do. Researchers who study relaxation and guided rest often note that this kind of gradual, cumulative easing reflects genuine physiological change, not merely a passing impression, supporting the idea that calm, unhurried communication can meaningfully influence the body's internal state over time. Your subconscious has been doing precisely what it always does, quietly, faithfully, without any need for acknowledgement or thanks. There is something deeply fitting in recognizing this shift, as it happens a quiet confirmation that everything described throughout this time has been true and present within you the entire while. Tonight, that same gentle guidance continues, carrying you steadily and surely toward rest. Long before your earliest conscious memory begins, your subconscious was already there, quietly tending to you in ways too early for words or recollection to hold on to. It kept your small heart beating through your first days, learned the sound of comfort long before you understood what comfort meant, and began building the very foundation upon which every later memory would eventually rest. There was no moment when this care began partway through your life. It has simply always been present, as constant and unbroken as your own breath, working faithfully whether or not you were ever aware enough to notice. This is not something you earned or requested. It was given freely from the very beginning by a part of yourself that never once needed acknowledgement to continue its quiet work. Across every year since, through every change, every new place, every different version of yourself you have grown into, your subconscious has remained steadily present underneath it all, patient and unwavering. It does not require you to remember this to keep offering it. It simply continues exactly as it always has, regardless of whether conscious thought ever pauses to notice. Tonight, this same quiet, lifelong care remains fully present within you, just as it has been every single night before this one, asking nothing of you except the willingness to finally rest and let it continue its gentle, familiar work. At this very moment, without requiring a single deliberate thought from you, your subconscious mind is quietly guiding your body through the early stages of rest. Your breathing has likely slowed. Your muscles have likely softened in places you were not even aware were holding tension. This is simply what your subconscious does, gently and reliably, whenever it senses that the conditions for rest have finally arrived. You do not need to help it along or manage the process consciously. It already knows exactly what to do, having practiced this same quiet transition every single night of your life. There is nothing effortful required from you now, only the simple willingness to allow it to continue. Your subconscious does not need instructions or reminders. It has been preparing for this moment since the very first light of evening began to fade, adjusting hormones, easing alertness, softening the edges of the day, until only calm remains. Right now, that process continues steadily beneath these words, carrying you a little further with every passing moment. There is nothing left to think through, nothing left to solve, nothing left to manage. Your subconscious has already taken hold of this part of the evening exactly as it is meant to, gently guiding you toward the rest your body has been quietly waiting for all along. Tonight, as your conscious mind grows quieter, your subconscious remains fully present, continuing its steady, familiar work without requiring anything further from you at all. It does not need you to remain alert or watchful. It does not need you to stay involved in any part of the process. This has always been its role, quietly and completely, long before you ever needed to think about it consciously. You are free tonight to set down whatever weight the day may have left behind, trusting that your subconscious will continue exactly as it always has, protecting your breath, your heartbeat, your safety without pause. This is not a responsibility you carry together. It belongs entirely to your subconscious, a part of you built specifically for this kind of steady, unwavering care. There is nothing you need to do to help it succeed tonight. It has never once required your conscious help to continue this work, and it does not require it now. You are simply allowed to rest completely, releasing every remaining thought, every small worry, every lingering task, into the quiet hands of a system that has never once failed to keep you safe through the night. Tonight is no different from any other night before it. Your subconscious remains steady, present, and entirely capable, asking only that you finally allow yourself to let go. Each breath that rises and falls tonight, slow and unhurried, is a small, quiet act of care, performed entirely by your subconscious mind. You do not need to count these breaths or manage their rhythm. They simply continue one after another, carrying oxygen gently through your body, while easing you further into rest with every exhale. This has always been true every night of your life, though rarely noticed so directly. Tonight, allow yourself to notice it, if only briefly, this steady, faithful rhythm that has never once abandoned you, not for a single moment since your very first breath. There is a quiet devotion in this constancy, a part of you working tirelessly on your behalf, without ever asking for recognition or rest of its own. You need only allow it to continue exactly as it wishes, without interference, without effort, without a single thought required from you. Each breath tonight is simply one more small gift offered freely by your subconscious, one more quiet reminder that you are being cared for in ways too easy to overlook amid the business of ordinary life. Let this breath be a little slower. Let the next one be a little deeper. Your subconscious already knows exactly how to guide you gently towards sleep, one steady breath at a time, exactly as it has always done. From the earliest moment of your life to this very night, your subconscious has never paused, never rested from its steady work of maintaining your comfort and safety. Through every ordinary day and every difficult one, through years you remember clearly and years you barely recall at all, it has continued quietly beneath the surface, tending to countless small details you were never even aware needed attention. This constancy is easy to overlook, precisely because it has never wavered enough to draw notice. A system that always works reliably rarely calls attention to itself, and so its quiet devotion often goes entirely unnoticed. Tonight, take a brief moment to simply acknowledge it. This unbroken thread of care that has run steadily through your entire life, asking for nothing in return. Your subconscious does not need thanks. It does not need to be reminded of its own importance. It simply continues faithfully and without complaint, precisely because that is what it was built to do. There is something deeply comforting in resting within a system this reliable, one that has never once failed you across every single day you have lived. Tonight is simply one more night within that same unbroken continuity, cared for exactly as every night before it has been. Let yourself rest fully within that quiet reliability, trusting a part of you that has never once let you down. As sleep approaches, there is no longer any need for your conscious mind to carry the weight of thinking, planning, or managing anything at all. That responsibility now rests gently in the hands of your subconscious, a part of you fully capable of holding everything necessary while you finally let go. Whatever thoughts remain from today, whatever small concerns still linger quietly at the edges of your mind, do not need to be solved or resolved before you rest. Your subconscious will continue turning them over gently through the night, if needed, without requiring your conscious involvement at all. This is precisely what it has always done, working quietly through the night, while you rest completely undisturbed by the effort. You do not need to hold on to anything right now. You are free to release it all, trusting that nothing important will be lost, simply because your conscious mind has finally stopped trying to manage it directly. Your subconscious carries this weight easily, patiently, without strain, exactly as it has done every night before this one. There is real relief available in this release. A genuine permission to stop thinking, stop planning, stop holding, and simply allow yourself to rest. Tonight, let every remaining thought settle gently into the quiet, capable hands of your subconscious, trusting it completely to carry what you no longer need to hold. Somewhere within your body right now, tension gathered throughout the day is quietly being released, guided entirely by your subconscious mind, without requiring a single conscious instruction from you. This process has likely already been unfolding gradually throughout this entire time together. Small muscles softening breath, deepening awareness, slowing, each shift occurring naturally as your subconscious continues its familiar work. You do not need to search for remaining tension or consciously direct your body to relax further. Your subconscious is already handling this methodically and gently, exactly as it always does at the close of a long day. There is nothing left for you to manage in this process. Whatever tightness the day may have left behind is being addressed quietly and completely, without requiring your attention or effort. Trust this process fully. Your subconscious has performed this same gentle release every single night of your life, becoming through years of repetition, remarkably skilled at recognizing exactly where tension remains and how to ease it away. Tonight is no exception. The same quiet, familiar process continues steadily beneath these words, carrying you further into stillness with each passing moment. There is nothing required of you now, except the simple willingness to allow this release to continue exactly as it wishes, trusting completely in a system that has never once failed to bring you safely toward rest. Everything necessary for rest tonight has already been set into motion, quietly and completely by your subconscious mind. There is nothing further required of you now, no task left to complete, no thought left to finish, no effort left to make. Your only role at this point is simply to allow it, to stop resisting the pull toward rest, and instead, let yourself be carried gently by a process that has been unfolding steadily this entire time. Your subconscious does not need your help to succeed. It has been doing this work long before you had words to describe it, and it will continue doing so long after you have drifted into sleep entirely. Tonight you are free from responsibility, free from effort, free simply to exist quietly, while something steady and reliable continues working on your behalf. There is a particular kind of peace available only in this full release, a trust extended completely to a part of yourself that has never once given you reason to doubt it. Let go of whatever remains. Let go of the need to consciously participate any further. Your subconscious has this fully in hand, exactly as it always has, exactly as it always will. Tonight, Simply allow yourself to rest completely, trusting that everything necessary is already being quietly and faithfully taken care of. As your conscious mind finally lets go completely, your subconscious remains quietly present, continuing its steady watch throughout the night ahead. It will keep your breathing steady. It will keep your heart beating faithfully. It will notice if anything truly important requires attention, while allowing everything else to pass by undisturbed. You are never truly unguarded during sleep, even in its deepest, quietest stages, because this same faithful part of you remains gently alert the entire time, exactly as it has been throughout every night of your life. There is no need to hold on to wakefulness any longer in order to feel safe. Safety was never dependent on your conscious awareness in the first place. It has always rested in the steady, reliable hands of your subconscious, a part of you built specifically to continue this quiet vigilance long after conscious thought has finally stepped aside. Tonight you are free to release that final thread of wakefulness, completely trusting fully in a system that has never once failed in this responsibility. Your subconscious does not tire of this watch, does not grow weary of maintaining it night after night, endlessly and without complaint. It simply continues faithfully and quietly, allowing you the full, complete rest your body and mind now need. Let yourself finally rest, knowing that gentle watch continues exactly as it always has. Across every single night of your entire life, your subconscious has known exactly how to guide you gently into sleep, a skill practiced so many times that it now requires no conscious thought or effort at all. It has done this through childhood, through difficult nights, and easy ones through every season and every circumstance you have ever lived through. Tonight is simply one more night within that same long, unbroken pattern, cared for by a part of you that has never once forgotten how. You do not need to consciously find your way into rest. Your subconscious already knows the way, having walked this same quiet path more times than could ever be counted. There is nothing uncertain about this process, nothing that requires your active participation any longer. You are simply allowed to let go completely now, trusting fully in a process that has always, without exception, carried you safely through to morning. Whatever remains of today, whatever small thoughts still linger quietly, may now be released entirely into the steady care of your subconscious. A part of yourself that will continue its quiet work long after these words have ended. You have been cared for this entire time, and that same care continues now, exactly as it always has, gently and completely, all the way into sleep. Thank you for spending this time here with me. Until next time, good night.